Hey, watch out! You've entered the Killzone. Live from Hollywood, California. The Killzone Podcast with your host, Beeranid 40k. Real talk for competitive Kill Team 40k from today's top players. Tactics and strategies. News you need to know. And tactical Q&A is coming your way. Join the Beeranid 40k Patreon for full access to all episodes. Only $5 per month.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Killzone Podcast with Beeranid 40k. Last episode was the first of our monthly Patreon-only episodes, so if you missed that, be sure to join the Beeranid 40k Patreon for only $5 a month so that you have full access to every episode. This episode's topic is on adapting to the new meta. Since the beginning, the Kill Team competitive format has had a win condition that was relatively basic. It asked for one thing: positional play. I move a model here to score a point, and that's kind of it. Since this basic format wanted one thing so clearly, it was quickly realized that kills were not necessary for Kill Team. It was bodies that were necessary. And soon, people started kind of out-competing with bodies, saying, oh, well, mine can be faster than yours. Well, mine can be more durable. On and on it went. But now, many of the largest Kill Team tournaments are changing their win condition. Now you don't just score points for holding, you score points for killing. And my hope in this brief bit of pep talk is to help you prepare for what I think this means for your Kill Teams. Now, this podcast is supposed to be real talk for competitive Kill Team, so here's the first bit of real talk. It's a key to take away. Some of you might not like it, but key number 1, killing and not getting killed requires dice to go your way. It's kind of an interesting thought, isn't it? Now, hit rolls, wound rolls, failed saves, injury rolls, all of these are part of your win condition in this format. So if you carry on as though nothing has changed, you might not like the results that you get. The problem is, dice rolls are supposed to be random, right? It seems like I'm kind of just telling you, hey, roll better. But I promise there is an actual strategy for this other than loaded dice. Because now, more than ever, it is modifiers that are going to matter. A comm specialist to give you a +1 to hit, an auspex that ignores cover to help you hit, a demo specialist, or a high-strength weapon to help you wound. AP, removing the dice of the save, and multiple damage, helping you to proc that out of action on an injury roll. All of these are things to start kind of thinking about now, because if you can start hedging the dice towards that success with the implementation of some of these, I think it's very important to do so. But choice of faction is also going to be very important, because that's kind of the first place to start, isn't it? Because some factions are just more random than others, and some are going to be much less random. Just as an example, when Andy from Glass Half Dead told me he didn't know what faction he was going to take to LVO, I really thought that the flayed ones from Necrons were the best to go out of the teams that he said he had available. Why? Because that team just seems to have exactly what the format wanted. It does kind of what I'm talking about. You still need to hold in the new format, right? Well, 12 bodies, which you can get with the flayed one spam list, is a nice mini horde that lets you take hold and contest objectives. That decent base save of the Toughness 4 with the reanimation protocols means if you put the Necrons in cover, an injury roll of a 1 through 4 is a flesh wound, and the 6 brings you back to full health. It is only the 5 that would take you out of action, which is a 16% probability, and that's after they had to go through their math and try to hit you and roll to wound you, and then you got to roll a save. Here we get to see exactly what I was talking about. Buffs, debuffs, and the effect of the dice present in this faction, affecting things in such a way that the outcome is one that you want in this format. So that's the hold, that's the deny kills, kind of the win condition met. Now what about getting those sweet, sweet kill victory points? Well, the Necrons, they have that sub-faction that pairs with the flayed one's melee weapons, so you get re-rolling failed hit rolls and failed wounds. You get 3 attacks base. Let's pretend that you failed all of those with your faction. For example, my Gene Stealers, if I fail all my 3 attacks, that's the end. But with the Necrons, it's not. And it's huge that this is not the end for them. They get to pick up every one of those dice again, roll them again, and any that hit, hey, when you're moving on to that next wound roll, that door in the way, that same buff applies to the wound rolls. This pushes the math through. This pushes through the doors that are in the way. Each step between you and that injury roll and that victory point, changing the math a little bit, is how you kind of break through that. This helps you climb the mountain towards the win condition that brings you victory. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not saying everybody, hey, drop what you're doing, run out, go play Necrons, because that's just one example of something that can do what the format wants. Let's look at something like psychic attacks in the light of the new scoring format. The psychic phase, that's only limited to a few factions right now. And it comes before the shooting phase, which is huge. Because imagine, a Grey Knight, 3 inches away from the biggest, scariest gun in the game. If that big, scary gun is a 1-wound model, that Grey Knight has the advantage. He moves first. He has the tempo. That big scary gun could be readied, but the Grey Knight does his offensive attack an entire phase before the big scary gun can do his offense. And that big, that psychic attack is efficient. A gun has to be in range, has to roll to hit, has to roll to wound. There's a save involved, then it goes to that 50-50 on the injury roll. Yet the psychic attack, there's far fewer conditions. Thus, it's more efficient. So psychic is big in the new format. And what about things like toughness and high damage? That's something to think about. Personally, I think things like the Eldar Wraiths are the darlings of the format as well. It's exactly the kind of thing these packets want. They're toughness 6 with 3 wounds, so they can take a pounding and still be standing on that objective when the dust settles and it's time to count the score. They have an auto-hitting weapon. Hey guys, that bypasses the need for the successful hit rolls, and it hedges the math like we talked about. The Strength 10 AP4 helps them get to that injury roll with less resistance, less steps in the way, they just kind of get knocked down. All before things like the Ultway FNP and the Great Tactics are also taken into consideration. It just comes with being part of that faction. So now that we've kind of heard a few examples of what you're kind of looking for in this format, as we move on into this format for the mini 2020 competitions, just kind of take what I'm saying here and kind of look at your faction and see where you might be able to affect the math there. Can you take some kind of invuln or an FNP so there's one more barrier in the way between you and that injury roll for them to get to that VP? Can you take some kind of auto-hitting weapon or a sub-faction or just a weapon choice that gives extra attacks or re-rolling attacks or re-rolling wounds? Can you take one of the psychic factions so that you have access to those hyper-efficient mortal wounds? Or, hey, there's only so many of those. What if you could find a way to integrate more potential for mortal wounds into your lists? Because a lot of things do have some potential for mortal wounds. The Infernus Engine from my Death Watch Tactics video on YouTube is one example of this. It's a team that doesn't have any psychic at all, but can still deal a statistical 2 mortal wounds per turn if you plug in a special build. The importance of mortal wounds come because the other guy doesn't get a save versus them. It also bypasses the toughness. So if you're strength 4 going against toughness 6, you don't need to roll a 5 up to get that wound. The mortal wound just goes off. It gets past all the doors in your way as you move towards the injury roll. So hopefully in today's episode, you'll pick up some more insights into approaching this new format. There's a lot of ideas presented. Aric Kuschinsky and I discussed the LVO championships that just took place with a bit of speculation as to why we think the factions that did so well. And I talked to the winner of the Las Vegas Open tournament for over an hour and a half after that. Now, this is a very special interview, and it couldn't have worked out better because it's with the #1 ranked ITC Kill Team player in the world. But it was done right before the actual LVO tournament. How perfect is that for an episode on adapting to a new meta? Because we get to see inside the mind of one of the best players in the world in this episode at a time when he was preparing for this new format. What was on his mind as he was doing this? How was he approaching this? What factions did he think looked strong or weak, and why? What did he think of some of the builds I thought might be gatekeepers, or just the approaches that I thought others might take coming into this format? All of this and more is coming your way on a very special episode of the Killzone Podcast. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
You're listening to the Killzone Podcast with Beeranid 40k. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hey everyone, I'm Emmanuel.
And I'm Alex.
And we're Strategic Advantage. We've both been in the game of Kill Team for a while now. I started a few months after release, honestly, due to the fact that orcs grow from mushrooms.
And I started just prior to the release of Elites, and my friends already say I'm basically a tech priest in real life, so my gravitation towards AdMech was all but decided for me.
We've been playing games casually, in campaigns, and in the competitive scene quite regularly, and it came to the point that with the growing and thriving community, we wanted to start giving back.
We decided to put together a YouTube channel to share with you the fun we've come to find in the game, as well as to have tactical discussions and tutorials to spread what we've learned along the way.
We aim to showcase two types of videos on strategic advantage. Our battle reports will be under the banner of Crump and Quona, with a focus on viewability and fun.
And our Tactica, both for newer players as well as advanced and veteran gamers, will be featured as Cogboy Cogitations.
You can find our channel, Strategic Advantage, on YouTube. We hope you enjoy it.
And we're back.
We are back to the Beeranid Kill Team competitive podcast.
The Killzone Podcast.
There we go. Killzone Podcast. Oodsicle hosting this week. Here just bringing it to you with Chris.
Yeah, because Long Beach knows how to make a burger that'll put you to sleep.
Yeah, apparently. So my plan all along. This is now Oodsicle's shout-out podcast. All right. We're going to get into, we talked about the format, we talked about the meta. Let's talk top 8. So top 8 in LVO was 3 Eldar, could have been 4. There was one right on the bubble, which I claimed the day before. I said it was going to be 4 Eldar in the top 8. Ended up being 3. Then we also had Necrons by Glass Half Dead. We had Admech by our boy Alex here from the Fly By Nights. Whoop. Thousand Suns, another LA player that we met that weekend, the Thousand Suns player. Grey Knights. And Drukari by Alec, who also did well at, I believe, at SCO with his Drukari.
Yeah, he did.
Interesting top 8. 3 Eldar. I have been saying since I played the Eldar at BAO when I played Michael, which, I mean, Michael is a fantastic player.
And you played him twice that weekend.
Yeah, I played him twice that weekend. Michael's a fantastic player. I mean, and Arena's a whole different game, too, which is what I played him at BAO. Never got to play him on the open board, actually, because even at SCO, the day I played against him was Arena as well. I've never played against his Eldar on an open board. Michael did end up winning the whole thing. Spoiler alert, I guess should have said that beforehand if you haven't. But, I mean, if you're listening to this, you know what's going on. So the final was Admech versus Eldar, both of which have amazing toolboxes.
I think Admech won by 1 point. But Eldar
won by 1 point, and it was a turn 4 swing.
Crazy.
Turn 4 swing that gave him the 1 point lead. He was down 1 point going into the final turn.
Yeah, because the Admech player, in question, Alex Squires, is just a monster.
Yeah. He prefers Dr. Squires, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Dr. Monster Squires. It's like this Frankenstein little thing going on there.
So just to touch on Eldar. We'll go over the other teams, and then we'll get back to Eldar. So the Necrons, we just talked about. We talked about how good we think they are in the meta. 10 leadership, flayed ones are strong. They've got decent shooting too. 6s stand them right back up, which I had happen. Another shout out to my guy Paul that I've been practicing against here. He runs a Lich Guard heavy list that just melt through my Grey Knights. And that's been tough. Anthony as well, another guy that we've been practicing with here a lot. So like I said, this is Oodsicle shout out podcast. So Necron's really good. Makes sense that they're in there. Admech, super strong. Thousand Suns and Grey Knights was nice to see some of the Psychers get in there.
Which is interesting because, like I was just saying, we need to hedge the dice.
Yeah.
How many steps are there to get to the injury roll with a psychic attack versus shooting?
Yeah, 1 step.
Yeah. It's like, can you roll over a 5? Can you see him injury roll?
There's some teams that do have the mortal wound ignoring on a 4-up for 1 CP.
4 and 5. Colts, I believe, is 5. Armor of Contempt, I believe, is a 5. So there's some things out there to ignore them. Even Grey Knights have their own for ignoring it. And Nids do get that -1. It's just that you've been buffed already anyway, so it's like you're getting the +1. I'm putting the -1 from Shadow in the Warp. So.
And at the end of the day, though, too, right? Like, that's a dice-heavy situation, too. As Grey Knights, in my experience, you have your 2 Psybolts per turn, which is amazing. But if you're not taking at least one model down with that Psychic per turn, you're going to start to fall behind. I had a game where, thankfully, I had my rerolls, but Justin in the Discord as well, his Admech, I played him. I rolled 3 Perils of the Warps, double ones, in one game.
Wow. In
one game, I rolled double ones 3 times. And I had to re-roll all of them. Thankfully, I had the CP to do so. But I re-rolled I rolled double ones 3 times.
That's crazy.
I had another game where I rolled 3, which is the only failing number you can get outside of the perils. Yeah. And I mean, so if the Psybolts aren't going off, if I'm not taking models out, the Admech have the 2 models. That was a super heavy positioning game for me. which is what you got to do with the Grey Knights, right? He had models with 2 wounds, so I tried to line up so I could knock one of those models down super early. Thousand Suns, I didn't play them at all over the weekend, but I know they're strong. They have the Psychic. They have the Swarm with the with the Zangors.
So I played Shane Watt's final game, day 3, so it was my 14th game. And apologies to Shane. I know I was probably playing sloppy. I was tired. But that was the Gaunt spam thing, and it was just bad. I knew going in because, you're talking about Horde versus Horde. Mine is T3 with a 6-up save. His is T4 with a 5-up invuln. It was just like, oof. So I think if you're going spam right now or Horde, like you want to go melee Horde, that would be the best team right now, in my opinion, even more than Orcs.
What did he run against you? Because I know I saw him. He wasn't even running the double Sorcerer. He was running double Terminators, all Zangors, I think is what I saw him run.
He did run the double Sorcerer against... No. He ran Sorcerer Gunner Termi. Against me.
He ran two Terminators
and then the rest
all Zangors.
Yeah, the rest was all them filthy space birds.
Very interesting. I'm not gonna throw it out there because it's a sweet little tactic he talked to me about. But
James. James has a thing.
A
secret that we can't share yet.
Shane mentioned something to me. I'll just say this. Take a look at Thousand Suns. Take a look at what they got in the annual and see what you can come up with, because he came up with some pretty interesting stuff that is semi-disgusting. Don't know how effective it'll be. It won't be as effective in Arena as it is on open board, but some cool stuff there.
But yeah, just really quickly on those space birds, the Zangors, man, there's something magical about AP1 on a little dude. You got
they
that
get,
little dude.
2 attacks, right?
Yeah. So it's like you got the little dude and you got the 5-up invuln. They're T4, not T3. And then they have the AP1. They're just like, just so perfect, man.
So wait a second.
Love them.
They get 2 attacks, Strength 4, Toughness 4, 5-up invuln. How many points are they?
I think there's 7 points.
7 points?
8 points, something like that.
God, my Grey Knights just
look
worse.
For the twist spray, I think. So I think it's only 7 for them, which is the same. It's the same as the Gene Stealer Cult Acolyte Hybrid, which again is T3 Strength 4. They're that Toughness 4, and then they have that 5-up invuln. So I really think if you were going to run Horde, that would be where to do it. Is that that Zangor spam? But why would you not take the Sorcerer or the that awesome Termi build?
Oh no, for sure, yeah.
So it's kind of like they're the best to do that, but they're never gonna do it where it's just that.
Oh yeah, they can't get to the same numbers that some of the other swarms can, because they're paying a premium for the Psyker plus the Terminators and the other things like that.
If they were to forego that and go complete melee Horde, it could be very interesting.
Yeah.
Especially in the old format. I'm surprised that nobody found that sooner in the old format, because that's not elites.
Yeah, we didn't see many. I don't think we saw many or any Thousand Suns. I don't even remember BAO. I don't think there was a single Thousand Suns player at any of our tournaments. We didn't really have. I think Will played them a little bit, but we didn't really have anybody. He never really dug into them. You know what I mean? He tried them out, but
Zero Stride came close. He ran them at the SoCal Open. And
he
faced
did.
him game 1. Yep, it was he and I on stream. And the Gene Stealer Cults, that spam list that I had the more bodies. It wasn't about killing at that point. So that's, I think, what made the difference there. Plus, I got lucky on a few rolls. Like I did the acidic spit, where you're in combat and you're doing that Hail Mary, and I got him.
Or whatever.
So it was just like Hail Mary, mortal wound, So.
Oh man, I didn't know Orcs had that tactic. There was a guy, his model was shaking. I was like, I'm just gonna get a quick, easy cut apart and pick up a relic. And then they have a tactic that's 1 CP, and on a 4-up, they do a mortal wound to you in melee. And it doesn't say they need to be unshaken or anything like it. Just use it, pop my guy, and I was just like,
it's like
cool.
The squig. I forget what it's called.
Very cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's one thing too, dude. There was a lot of stuff that was popping up that I just didn't even. I had yet to really face Gottfried, and Gottfried got me, dude. I cannot believe that model. And
can you believe that it's the nerfed version?
That's the nerf version. I know he used to get to fight in 2 phases.
Yes.
But he is so one of my Grey Knights with falchions, so he gets to attack twice. He's Strength 4, Toughness 4, or Toughness 4. I get it. Gets to attack twice. He has 1 wound, no invuln save, and he cost me 19 points or whatever it is. Right? Gottfried is 20 points, 3 wounds, 3-up invuln save, 5 attacks that explode on 6s with a power sword.
Yeah.
With a power sword, they become 2 attacks.
AP3.
So they become 2 attacks. And I get that he's strength 3, right? But when you're rolling that many freaking dice, you're gonna wound somebody.
At AP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're wounding on 5s against a Space Marine, but
and he's 3 wounds.
Yeah.
And he's freaking 20 points. It's absolutely insane, and it gave Imperial Guard something they needed, right? Like a front line to hold off for them, because Bullgryns are crazy expensive.
I would way rather have Pius or this Crusader.
Godfrey.
Than I would the Bullgryn or the Ogryn. Yeah. Yep.
No, it was disgusting. Because I ran into two Imperial Guard this weekend with Plasma and Melta, and I'm just like, okay, I'm Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Got it. You're gonna melt me. Going back to Grey Knights. Sorry, we got off track a little bit there with Godfrey. This is what happens when I run the podcast. Is I jump all around. Grey Knights made it into top 8 as well. Like I said, I was close to being there myself. So Grey Knights, I was happy to see them in there.
Yeah, you were like, what, 3 points away or something?
I was 5 points off, but I need to win and the 5 points.
Okay.
So had my last game gone better, I could have gotten in. My last game was against Gottfried and Plasma and Melta, and that was the same game where 3 models took 8 flesh wounds. It was a rough game for me.
Because you were 3-1. At the end of the GT.
No, at the end of the GT, I ended up being 2-2. I needed that win to be 3-1. Had I gotten that win and I had enough points, but points-wise, I was 5 points off. Yeah. But that last game, we sit down. It's an Imperial Guard, and I'm like, oh my gosh. We roll the deployment, and I'm like, please be B, please be B, please be B. Of course, it's A. Yeah. So it's long board edge, 3 inches, and I'm going against Melta and Plasma spam with a Gottfried. Like, it was going to be rough. It was a close game. It was a good game. It is what it is. But, I felt close. I wanted to be the one to take him, but the Grey Knights did get into the top 8. He was running an interesting list. I don't want to harp on it too much. I've talked a little bit about it on the Discord. He was running, I believe he said, every single game over the weekend. He took a leader with the staff, which I agree with, against things with AP anyway. If things don't have melee AP, there's no reason to take the staff. I'd rather take falchions and have more attacks because the invuln doesn't work when you're being shot at. Then he ran 2 hammers, one on a combat and one on a zealot. The zealot one was the one I didn't like because you have to get that charge off or you don't get the second attack.
Okay.
And then he ran 1 regular falchions guy, a heavy silencer, and then a flamer regular guy. The heavy silencer, it's good against certain things. I don't like it against, toughness 4, high, good save kind of stuff like Marines. I wouldn't necessarily take it against. You are getting heavy 6, so you are getting the 6 shots. The Grey Knights have the tools, right? That's why I played with them. The one thing, though, was I felt the dice heavy with the Grey Knights. Yeah. You need to take people out with those psychics. You need to get those out of actions or you start to fall behind. And then just tactics-wise, they don't have any really good tactics that are like 1 CP. Like they have one where if you're fighting somebody and there's no other models within 6 inches, you get to re-roll your wounds in combat against that guy, and that's 1 CP. But they don't have anything like really tactically.
The main thing for me with their tactics, it looks to be re-roll on the psychic. That
you absolutely need to save one for that.
And then that Cybolt ammunition for the AP1 on the Stormbolter.
It's not bad, but with the way the terrain was, I found myself like I need to advance, or it depends on your matchup,
so you're
right?
Not shooting.
So if you're advancing, you're not shooting, but you need to advance to not just to get up and get close in for those charges turn 2 or turn 3, but also just to save yourself. Like if you're running from where your deployment is, if I do a regular move, I'm going to be in the open against Plasma or whatever it is. I need to hide, so I had to advance to hide certain places. And now, again, it depends. They're a super positional team because you're setting yourself up. You're trying to get in there, get into the charges. You're also setting yourself up so that, okay, I can see one guy and he can see me. Like I was saying against the AdMech player, I had to set up where, okay, I can see his 2-wound model. Yeah, it sucks. I'm not killing a Plasma, but none of his Plasma can see me. I can just see that model. This model and this model can see each other. This model and this model can see each other. Nobody else can see my Grey Knights. And that's how you have to play it, right? Otherwise, I'm getting shot off the board. So I didn't see his games. I haven't read his write-up yet, but he has one on Goonhammer. But there's some interesting stuff there. I like to see Grey Knights in the top 8. 1,000 Suns, I like to see something different. Other than the 3 Eldar players, it was all different teams, right? Yeah. So that was good to see.
So I'm wondering, just really quickly before we leave off on Grey Knights, whenever I see like Zealot spec, Demo spec, something like that, the first thing that comes to my mind is an engine or a stack or something like that. Do you think that there was some kind of an interaction that we're not seeing on that hammer?
On the Zealot hammer, no.
Okay,
he likes
so he just wanted that extra attack.
He likes it because he said, from what I recall, he said he likes the... he used to run it on his leader, but then he felt he never got his leader into combat or whatever, and I personally don't like it. I know there's math out there. I don't have it. I'd have to find it. It's on the Discord somewhere. But
if you're hitting on 4s, 2 attacks, that's 1 attack.
Yeah, 50, and so the thing is, there's math that shows that falchions, even against toughness 4 and harder things to wound or whatever with falchions, that falchions are so minusculely behind a hammer. I think, or like right there with a hammer. I think math-wise, that Falchions is the better play. But I mean, obviously he made top 8, right? Something worked
Do
with
you
his
think
team.
it was for that damage then? Because, here we're talking about the dice and this, needing to go out of action. Maybe it's the multiple damage.
I mean, 3 damage is nice, right? And but I mean,
that's
so
a
against
lot
the thing is, right?
Fish for a 5 or a 6.
The Zealot gives
4.
you the plus strength, which would take you to 10 on the hammer, right? Because it's times 2, so your strength would go to 5. You get times 2.
No. Because it would be strength 9 because it's
okay. So that was the question too. Yeah, if you multiply it first and then add it, or add it and then multiply it. Well, people were having a discussion. We don't need to get into that, but people were having a discussion on the Discord whether it be 9 or 10. But either way, that 10 isn't going to help you against anything other than toughness 5. And I don't believe he went up against anything that was toughness 5, because I know he went up against Michael's Eldar, but that would have been a toughness 6 on the Wraith, so that wouldn't have helped there. And the 9 doesn't help against anything more. And I know against everything else, like if you're looking at toughness 3 stuff, like that's not really helping you out that much. And the wounding on 2s, the thing is, like you said, 2 attacks, and that's only if you get the charge off. Otherwise, you're getting 1 attack, -1. I'd rather have the Falchion guy, and because he goes up to strength 5, and then you get 3 attacks instead of your 2, but you still have your 2 either way.
Yeah, the jump from strength 4 to strength 5 is actually really important.
Yeah, it is. And but yeah, like you said, 3 damage flat is better than a D3 most of the time, right?
Yes.
But no, it just depends.
I mean, that's the thing about Grey Knights, though, is that D3 really matters. Like, it almost never feels like a 1 when I'm getting hit by the Falchions and stuff. I've always struggled against Grey Knights because of that. When I'm running my big bugs and stuff like that, it's like, okay, I have 3 wounds, boom, here goes. I got my 3.
I can't tell you how many times I got the super smite on a 1 wound model instead of a 2 wound model. Like, can I swap that one to that model? Can I make it? But
like, no.
Yeah, no. It was fun playing my Grey Knights. I felt like I was playing for, like, as I've said with them so many times, they punch above their weight, right?
Yeah.
A lot of games, I had 2 games where I lost my leader turn 1 just because there was nowhere to really hide him, but I still ended up winning, and I chugged back in with only 1 CP, and I was saving it for my psychics.
Dude, elite teams are good when you lose a couple guys.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Thousand Suns guy, you take out their Psyker, they don't have a Psyker anymore. Grey Knights, you take out one of my boys, hey, guess what? The guy to his right and the guy to his left can also hit you with a Cybolt. So, there's a little bit more coming from behind, punching above their weight with the Grey Knights. I like them. I don't know if I'm going to run them at another big tournament. I enjoy them. I plan to play them. They are my team in our campaign. But I think on a high competitive level, I just feel like you're relying a lot on dice with them. And I mean, again, every team you're relying on dice, but just with them, like even some of my advances, I was like, gosh, if I get a 1 on this advance, this model is screwed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or,
so, you want the guarantees. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's hard. Like, it might be better to run something like that, like what you're going for, but have it be White Scars Astartes.
Yeah, that's possible.
Because if you're finding getting stuck in the open or something, would you rather have that psychic or that movement and more guys throughout the course of the game? So
True.
Yeah.
Drukhari, I didn't play him. I didn't get to play him at SCO. I didn't get to play any Drukhari at SCO or LVO, which is also like, thank God, because they are scary. That's that Rax. They're scary. Grotesque are also scary, which I think you're just supposed to avoid them, is what people were saying. But 4 wounds, 6 attacks, 4 up the whatever, or 5 up invuln, 6 up feel no pain, whatever they have. That's a disgusting model, and they're only like 32 points.
Yeah, we need a local player to pick up Drukhari because it's something that I never play against until I'm at an event.
Yeah.
And thankfully, this time I didn't face him.
Yeah,
they're
so
like one of the weak points.
If you're in LA and you play Drukhari, hit us up because we want to play against you. We need to practice, and welcome to the crew.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah, no, I don't like them. I don't like how they look. It's kind of like my same thing with Eldar, right? Like, I know they're a good team, but I don't care for the team themselves,
Yeah. No, Eldar are just so good. Anyways, right. I know we're going to get to that in a bit.
So Admech, we agree, good. Plasma, you run him with the priests. He ran those. He ran the 2 wound guys, the infiltrators and stuff. Alex is a good player. He knows his toolkit. They have a good toolkit. They've got some decent tactics for situational positions. Assault 2 profile on a Plasma is disgusting.
Yeah.
Especially they ignore the advancing with Metallica.
Yeah.
No, they're good. Admech's good, which you've been preaching. You've been preaching for a while now.
Yeah.
top 2 finish will hopefully get some people off your back about that. But
yeah, everybody gives me a hard time. AdMech suck. What are you talking about?
I know.
Oh, is Beeranid still harping on about how good AdMech are? Second place. Ha ha ha. 1 point loss. I've said it for months, guys.
Even Glass is building an AdMech team
Yeah.
right now, and he doesn't think they're good.
Yeah. Well,
So-
they're just, like I keep saying about the priests. Everybody's like, oh, you're so hard on the priests. Yeah, they're good. If I got those in my Gene Stealer cult, I would be dancing. I would be so happy to have gotten those in my Gene Stealer cult. But the Assault 2 Plasma that you can advance and shoot without penalty. Oh, by the way, 2 Auspecs in a single list. Oh, by the way, Canticles, the entire team rerolls ones. Oh, by the way, I got a tactic to do it again. How come our roles have reversed in this one? Now I'm ranting.
That's what happened. I told you I'm hosting.
What happened this
Well, just
time?
wait, because I have a rant prepared for Eldar.
Okay.
So,
you've got it prepared.
Oh, yes, I'm ready.
Notarized.
To go. Oh,
signed.
yeah. I've got a whole section here. Eldar, everything about them that's OP. No,
Okay.
so AdMech, they're good. Alex took a second place finish. It was a really close game. Yeah, great job. Congrats to Alex. Congrats to everybody who finished in the top 8. Again, shout out to everybody who competed. It was really good. I had really good experiences. I know overall, I think the experience is good for everybody. There was a few little whispers here and there. I heard about some stuff, but otherwise, I think everybody who was there was awesome. Everybody I played was awesome. I had good games. Orctagon was giving out, seals this time, and Kraken rum as well to those of us that were over 21.
So yeah, I got 3 bottles of Kraken rum and a Purity seal.
There you go. Yeah, I got my
time.
Purity seal too. Those seals are sick, dude.
Yeah.
Those are super cool.
Mine is the Death Core.
Shout out to the Orctagon. Oh gosh, what's
Kyle
his name?
Pierce.
Kyle. There we go.
Yeah, congrats to you, Kyle. He took first place with Shooty Orcs, which is funny because if you go back to the last episode or the first episode, I can't remember which it was, but I was like, I think Shooty Orcs, man, and we had a debate about that for a little bit. And it's funny because in the next podcast, it's another interview with Michael T. Holy. We are, it's already in the can, waiting to be published. We were joking around about don't complain about the dice and then run Shooty Orcs.
Yeah.
Or don't run Shooty Orcs and then complain about the dice. Well, here we go because we just first place at a GT, GT of the year.
He is your number 1 kill team player.
Yes,
ITC
right now.
ranked right now. Who knows how many other competitions he'll go to or how many will, but right now, at this very moment. Then Will's number 2. Our Eldar player Will's number 2 because he finished in that GT.
Yep.
So
shout out to him.
So for those of you wondering, that's because the original GT carried over into Sunday. That still counted towards last year's ITC points. There was enough people Sunday that instead of running a pod, they ran a GT, a mini GT, and that counted towards the 2020 season. So the winner of that, which was your Daka Daka, Orctagon, Shooty Orcs, Daka Daka, they won it all. So they're your number 1 team right now.
Yep. 2020.
Yeah. So
January.
back to the original GT, the top finishing team. Michael again with his Eldar, as we have seen him do multiple times.
Who's going to be on here in just a few minutes.
There you go.
For over an hour.
I have been, as if we haven't been talking long enough. As I have been saying since I played them at BAO last year, Eldar are strong. And that was, I think, before Elites they were good, and Michael proved that. Mm-hmm. And I think after Elites they're even better. Like just going section by section. You have to be a good player to play them too. You can't just throw them on the table and expect to win. Michael obviously has been winning tournaments. Janice is another great player. Zero Stride, aka Pat, I know has been playing them a little bit as well. Alex, the Kid Wonder, who apparently won groups at like pods at Adepticon last year that none of us had ever heard of, and then he shows up and was kicking butt at LVO. Shout out to him. I got to have some good talks with him about the Eldar and
Alex Rutnerak, I believe.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, he's on the Discord as well. Shout out to him. We also had Will, our local guy, who was playing really well. He actually switched up his playstyle after playing Alex.
Interesting.
Because Alex plays a super aggressive team. That's it. He goes, Eldar aggressive. I'm an aggressive guy. I love this team. And I was like, man, I love this kid. This guy's great. He was throwing around those big casino dice too the whole weekend. Oh, geez. Yeah.
Well, congrats to Mr. Will Reinbold from the Fly By Nights team for taking second then. Yeah.
And then the other guy, Dakota, who we met,
cool guy.
He was the guy who was right on the bubble for the top 8, which would have been the 4th Eldar team.
And he did win a pod with his Eldar.
Did win a pod with the Eldar as well. No, Dakota, another great Eldar player. And then Will, there was at least I don't know if there was more Eldar, but there was those 5 that we just talked about. 5 really strong players playing a really strong team.
Yep.
So Eldar, they just have this toolbox that is almost unrivaled. You look at them, you're talking movement, They can advance and shoot as if they didn't advance. They can shoot as if they basically stood still.
And they're ruling basically at tournaments that they can advance and shoot a grenade.
Yeah,
How
grenades
crazy
are
is
part
that?
of it. Yeah,
They have a great plasma.
grenades.
Plasma
So
grenade.
hold on. I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
So movement, they can advance and shoot, and it's like nobody's business. So they're jumping, flipping off walls, and then they're shooting you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So their movement is amazing, which is another big thing in Arena too. Which we'll see that coming up at BAO, but it's great on the open field too, especially with the terrain that we were running. Models. So we'll go movement. I said advanced shoot. You talked about grenades. Great grenades. They have great grenades. That's something. My Grey Knights just have regular Space Marine grenades. Okay, my Tau have photon grenades, which are worthless. A lot of other teams don't really see use of their grenades. Whenever I play Eldar, I get at least one grenade tossed.
You'll get it per turn. Usually.
Yeah, and they're very good. It's very strong. It's a D6 grenade with like AP and like it's
no penalty to hit. They're hitting on 3s, D6 shots, and then it's AP1, I believe, or AP2. I can't remember. It's the plasma grenades. So it's just very strong.
Yeah, grenades is an aspect of the game that a lot of people don't really think about.
It's wonderful for Overwatch, man. Because it's like, I need a 6 to hit. Boom, here's 6 chances, basically.
100%.
Yeah.
Models, they got a lot of really different good models. I'd say the only model that's useless for Eldar is the Ranger.
Yeah.
Every other model has a place and a position on a team.
I need to look at them because I found a thing with the Space Marines where, as a cheap value engine, it's not going to be an Infernus or anything like that, but you could take the demo spec who's wounding, on I don't know if the Ranger can be a demo spec, but any sniper, if you make him a demo spec and then you pay 1 CP for custom ammo, you can proc that mortal wound on a 4-up.
Yeah.
Which is, pretty nice.
Fair enough.
Pretty nice.
But you still got to have the shot on them.
You got to shoot, but the sniper weapons never take long range.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. And then they can move and shoot, I believe.
I can tell you right now, though, the Eldar are working well enough that I don't think anybody's going to switch over to taking a Ranger for a one-shot.
One single Ranger,
one
just
shot
to make Beeranid happy. Do it, guys. Do it.
So they had good models. They were good before Elites. Then in Elites, they got the good melee options they needed. They got Banshees and their striking Scorpions.
Banshees are ridiculous because lack of player agency on the other side when you're facing them.
You cannot react at all. Not only can you not overwatch and shoot, you cannot retreat. You cannot do anything. They're blind charges basically all the time. They're 100% a blind charge no matter what you do.
And can't use the failed.
Can't use the arena tactic. Can't use any of that stuff. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
can't reroll failed.
And then once they get in, even if you decisive, you get a -1 to hit.
Yeah, because of the mask, right? The mask gives you the -1 to hit against them. And not only that, but you're running one as an Exarch, so he's a 2-wound model.
Yeah.
So on top of that, just based on their models, they have their Exarchs, so every one of their, they can take 4 2-wound models or 3 or 4 2-wound models in a list, right?
Yeah.
And they're 2-wound models that they want to be up in your face, so against Cybold or things like that Banshee wants to get in on me, that Striking Scorpion wants to get in on me.
Yeah. The Shooty Wraiths.
Amazing. The Wraiths as well.
Think about, just take a moment, guys, if you're at home. Can you think of anything else that can get to Strength 10? One that I can think of is the Gene Stealer Cult Zealot Spec Rock Cutter, who is also a Twisted Helix specialist. This guy comes with that base, and I believe there's weapon profile to auto hit on that. So D6 auto hits, Strength 10, AP -4. That's just amazing.
And it's a Toughness 6 model with 3 wounds, right?
Yeah.
And they're expensive. You're paying for them.
And you can put
Ulthway
on there.
Yeah.
So you're getting the feel no pain on each one of those.
So I'm getting to Ulthway. I'm getting. Okay. So shooting, they have good shooting too, right?
Yes.
The Shuriken weapons aren't super strong,
but you're getting on a 6. That's great.
And you're getting a decent amount of shots because again, you're advancing and moving as if you didn't advance, so you're getting good. They have the Star Cannon to back them up. Yes. They have their heavy weapon platform that can put some decent firepower onto the floor, onto the table.
You can take a basic Shuriken catapult and re-roll with the not the Ulthway subfaction, but the Bealtan.
Yeah, but you're not going to run
builds.
Yeah,
dude,
there is, but
you could run
nobody's running Bealtan now. We'll get to that.
Oh, you could.
Melee, they have the melee options.
They've done it before. That's what
I know. They used to. Now they all run Ulthway because it doesn't make sense to run the Bealtan.
It does though.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
We'll get there. Hold on. Let me get there. All right. Melee options, like I said, they got them now in the Banshee and the Striking Scorpion, and they have options for against T3 or against T4. They have AP. They have they've got everything in melee. And that combat Banshee throws down 5 attacks, 4 or 5 attacks.
The thing that scares me is the Executioner because the AP and the multi-damage and stuff. So that's, when you run into big bugs, that's just going to murk through them. But the Scorpion, you're right, is just so good. See, that's another thing. Bealtan, the Scorpion Claw has been ruled to be a shuriken weapon.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't
So
know
they
that.
can get that buff on
Alright.
that. Then when they make that charge or whatever, they get the Manda blasters to make everybody
Yeah.
take a mortal wound in the range. It's just like so good.
So let's talk sub-factions, because we were talking about that. The whole advance and shoot as if you didn't advance thing, for most other teams, that's a sub-faction option. For them,
Right.
that's just base. So now they get something on top of that. You talked about Biel-Tan re-rolling those shuriken weapons.
Yeah.
Ulthway is what a lot of the top players are going for. Even if you have 2 Ulthways over the whole course of a whole game hit, that's
Yeah.
2 models that didn't get taken out.
That's
You
true.
rolled the 6 up and ignored the wound. That's
Okay.
amazing. You get that on every time they lose a wound, you just roll a dice, and if it's a 6 comes up, that model doesn't lose a
I
wound.
think
That's
it's
huge.
5, isn't it?
I thought it was 6.
It might be 6. Well,
think
okay,
it's
if
6
that's
up.
the case, I mean, my Tyranids can take a 6-up FNP. Should I be doing that?
But here's the thing.
Because Leviathan sub that.
So here's the thing. Any other team that can do that, you're losing something if you take that.
Right,
For Eldar, it's the cherry on top because they have all these things that we've discussed. They've already got the movement. They don't need to have a sub-faction to get advance and shoot.
Yeah, true.
They've got the 2 wounds. They've got the good grenades. They've got the good shooting. They've got the good melee. You can't overwatch against them.
Yeah.
Like, they have all these things that when you look at sub-factions, you're like, okay, this is just an extra bonus for me, and now all my models get a 6-up to ignore a wound. Whereas if you do it for your NIDs, you're losing out on something significant to what you're doing.
Right, I would be losing a lot. Rerolling, wounds, rerolling, huge advances, rerolling charges.
Because the original way that people were playing them was Biel-Tan, which was the shuriken weapons, and they were still winning then. So now they just switched to doing the old way, and they're winning that way.
Yeah.
The other thing, tactics. Fire and Fade is borderline OP at one CP. You're talking about them getting to shoot and then move a model during the shooting phase for 1 CP.
Yeah.
And they can move the full 7 inches, so you can shoot. That's a part of the game where you don't get to move normally, right? You're not moving during the shooting phase, but not only does he get to move and shoot, or shoot and move. If you look at any kind of other tactics that are similar to it, there's the Pathfinder one, right? But my Pathfinder as a Tau player has to not fire, and then he gets to roll 2d6 to see how far he can move.
Yeah, it's
so
not
you
the
can
basic 7.
And that's 1 CP, same cost. So Fire and Fade is very good. That's so amazing to have in your back pocket. Like you can fire and then move on to an objective, fire and contest an objective, fire and get into hiding so that they can't shoot you
You could
back.
even do crazy stuff like, okay, you Fire and Fade with your combat spec in the shooting phase, and then next turn you fire up and at him for 3 CP, as Sheldon has ruled it. Now this is a 3-inch consolidation or pile-in into a model perhaps to fight.
There you go.
I mean, that's a great delivery system for a striking Scorpion.
They have 1 CP. Give yourself a 6 advance. You just automatically max your advance.
That's good.
For 1 CP.
That's
for
good.
1 CP, I can get, not on top of the fact that I'm already going to advance and still shoot as if I haven't. Now I get the full 6 inches, which is 100% what I needed. Where everybody else has to roll a dice and hope that they get there. They get there.
I'm remembering
automatically.
some of this now because I had a little Eldar team for a bit
Yeah.
just to test against that I traded off. So
And then now in the annual, a team that already had, they also have other tactics that I'm not touching on here. I'm just touching on.
you're touching on the ones that still hurt.
The ones that
They
I've
still
seen
burn
and
a
that I
little
see
bit.
consistently, right?
Yeah, right.
These are ones they have in their back pocket and they use consistently. I see that 6-inch advance. I see the Fire and Fade. They got a new one. Their Flamers instantly get the 3 hits out of 6.
Yeah, so good.
Hey, guess what? 1 CP.
So good.
Their Scorpions can deep strike. That was the one that was added in Elites. They
Yeah.
also got in the annual Webway. It allows you to deep strike 3 of any model.
That
it
fucked
doesn't.
me.
3 of any model. They can deep strike 3 of any model. I can't deep strike anything other than a Terminator with my Grey Knights.
Yeah, you would have to use outflank and be board edge.
Yeah.
But no, that's what Janice did is she dropped in with a Wraith and 2 fusions.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh no.
And I think
But I
that's
was
2
like,
CP, but still.
Yeah, but I was like, yeah, I'll take 1 or 2 losses. It was like, boom, every guy's dying. Like,
Right?
oh no.
But I mean, that's insane. 3 of any model.
Yeah.
And that somehow, and again, I'm going on my Grey Knights because that's what I've been playing and that's what Grey Knights, they added in the annual, I get to add 6 inches to a Cybolt once for the entire battle. It can only be used once for the entire battle. I get to add 6-inch range to it. How many CP does that cost you think? Oh yeah, that's right. 3 CP. 3 CP. You're talking death denied level CP for 6 inches to a Cybolt. While they get a freaking Webway drop 3 for 2, and they get a freaking 6-inch advance and a Fire and Fade for 1, and a 3 Flamers for 1. Like, again, I know I've said OP, I'm not saying OP, I'm saying they have a great toolkit, they have everything you need in every aspect of the game. The only knock against them would be that they're toughness 3.
Yeah.
And that's not much of a knock when you look at everything else they've got on their board.
when you're not taking Overwatch and stuff like that, and They can just run it so many different ways. They could do gunline if they wanted. They could do melee if they wanted. They could do mixed. They could do shooting. You know, they could pack bodies, these little 7-point guys onto an objective and shoot you as you're trying to move in. You know, they just, they're solid.
Yeah, they're beatable. Don't get me wrong. They are beatable. But when you take a good player and then you give them a team that, and that's why these players have gravitated towards this team, right? They sat there, they read through the book, and they looked at all this stuff. They looked, move and shoot. They looked, okay, 2 wounds on some of these Exarchs. Oh, that's a good grenade. Oh, that's a good weapon. Oh, that's, they can't overwatch me? Okay, oh, well, look at these tactics. You know what I mean? And they went, this is a good team. I'm going to run them, and I'm going to do well with them. And maybe some people just liked Eldar, and that's why they took him. But they happen to have one of the best toolkits in the game. For anybody who says otherwise, you're wrong. You know what I mean? I've been saying it since BAO when I played Michael twice, which, again, Michael's a great player. But Will's a good player in our meta. Dakota, now we met. Alex is a good player. Janice was a good player. You give these good players all these tools, you're going to have a good time as an Eldar player, right? Yeah.
And just as a little bit of speculation hammer, rumor mill stuff, the prevailing theory, or I guess the rumor is that for many, many years, a lot of the people in the playtesting groups and the design squad at GW has either played, or they play basically or main Eldar or Drukhari.
Oh, interesting.
So that a lot of times, over and over and over again, you kind of see what feels like favoritism in the rules.
Interesting. And
it's
that's
the rumor.
That's a big 40k too and
that's
stuff?
That's a big 40k thing. Huh. And this is, the same design staff.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They got to give love to their little, pointy-eared, tricksy elveses.
Well, you know what they say.
I don't know if that's true or not. But.
You know what they say. If you can't beat them, join them. So we're running Eldar and Drukhari at BAO. You heard it here first, guys. We're going to need that team back that Chris sold, if you're listening. And we're going to need that Drukhari player in the LA area to loan us some models. We're bringing it, baby.
No, I'm going to stick with my nids for a bit.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not.
With my nids. I don't know. I want to make them work now. There's just something about, now I'm back. I have that feeling that I did, in the early part of the game, where it's you go to the game store and you get just stomped, and then you go home and you're like, it just sits with you.
It helps that they're on
And then you break out a calculator and you're just like,
Yeah.
Well, this versus this would have been a little better. And this is how I can hedge this. And, well, now it's Arena. I wonder about this line of sight thing. And, I wish it was, an LVO thing this weekend. I really do, because I want another chance with actually the models that I would like to bring.
Yeah.
For open board, because Arena I feel is very different.
Oh, and so different.
I'm going in there with the learnings from LVO, but it's not going to be quite the same as just applying them directly, because now it's I got to kind of redo it a little.
We'll have to talk on Arena on one of these upcoming episodes for sure. But no,
we're going to play some Arena in a few minutes. So
yeah, we're going to play some games today, which will be nice. Did not get to play Chris at LVO, which was a bummer.
Woo!
I mean, also good, right? I went up against Paul round 1 and lost to him in the GT, and I was so pissed because somebody I practice with on a normal basis. But it is what it is.
We played each other the last round of SoCal, so it's that's enough for a little
bit. Also, we were both done at that point of the day. And then I got to go against that freaking bullshit. Excuse me,
Cult spam.
Gene Stealer Cold spam nonsense. LVO was great. Eldar are good. AdMac's good. There's a lot of other teams that I think can get in there and they can do their thing. They don't have all the tool set, like I said, that Eldar has. I'm not playing Eldar. I'm looking at some new teams. I've got some ideas for we talked about that. Yeah. Okay. It was a good weekend. It was a nice, fun weekend. We got to play a bunch of Kill Team, which was super awesome. And then it made me feel like I never wanted to play Kill Team again
for one day.
A few days,
and then
now
it's
right back in it,
chomping at the bit again. They've got to do something at Emerald Nights, in February or something.
Right back in it.
I'm walking in circles here.
Thanks again to everyone. Congratulations to Michael on another win. Took top ITC.
Yep. For the year.
Yeah, good for him.
So I think means
Janice and Alex topped out the top 3 ITC, I believe.
Yes.
Right? So it's 2 Eldar and an AdMac player in the top 3 there. That's pretty awesome. Aric Kuschinsky, I think I was 7th in ITC points, baby.
I don't know what I was. I was
and that was
15 at one point. I was in the top thing at one point, but I didn't play enough this year.
We gotta record more of our events in LA this year for sure.
So
if you're in LA area, reach out, man. We have a Discord. We're gonna be playing some comps. The more people we can get there, the better.
Yep.
Maybe we can get our own GTs going. Yeah, I mean, take it away. This is your podcast. Close it out, man. I don't know. I feel like I think that's it.
Well,
oh wait, one last thing. Crisis suits suck.
Had to throw that one in there. All right, guys. Yeah, that's we'll touch on that another time. We have a debate on that a little bit. But so we'll be back in just a moment with Michael T. Holy, the winner of Now for 2020. Let's see. He won second place at LVO. He won first place both days of BAO. He won one of the days of SoCal.
No, hold on. He won LVO. He got top. You said second.
He was second place at LVO last year.
Oh, last year.
Right?
Yes.
So this is his year, basically. He got second at LVO, but first both days of BAO, first and second, respectively, at SoCal Open now.
Yes.
He took like 2 of the BAO prep tournaments. Now he has first place LVO 2020.
Yeah.
First Grand Championships.
Yep.
So stay tuned, guys. He's coming on. We're going to talk for, I think, like an hour and a half, something like that, in just a few moments. We'll be right back here on the Killzone Podcast with Beeranid 40k.
Grab your bolt gun, Marine, because the Killzone Podcast with Beeranid 40k is spending 1 CP to come in from reserves right now.
My next guest is currently the #1 ranked ITC player in the world, winner of the SoCal Open, winner of both days of the Bay Area Open, and by the time you hear this, probably a GT or pod at the Las Vegas Open. Very excited to have you on today, Mr. Michael T. Holy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So do we call you Chris or Beeranid?
Either one's fine with me. You're the guest, however you would like it. Chris is fine, Beeranid's fine.
Beeranid is how I think of you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so we got a new format coming. Lots of changes. Have you had a chance to play the hold and kill format at all?
Well, I mean, it depends what play means. I have not played another human with it, but I've given the matter some thought, and I've played around with it. I think more than anything, I've been thinking a little bit about it, and then on top of that, I was really waiting to see what changes were going to come with that book that was released recently, and then use that to kind of guide my thinking as I go forward. So that's where I stand right now.
So at this early stage, by the time people are hearing this, LVO will most likely have happened. But at this early stage, as we're kind of moving towards that at this current time, do you kind of have any thoughts on the new format?
Well, I think that the new format is going to, could shake things up a lot. And the reason I say could and not it's going to is because, I don't know how many players are going to really adjust their style to the new format. And I think that if we were looking at new format and a 2-point death denied, I think that I would certainly have brought Astartes to LVO, and I think that would have been a powerful combination. But they give us 3-point death denied, which maybe that's all right with the format change. But that's really thrown me into a little bit of a flurry about how I'm gonna handle it. And I think that the Custodes really need a deeper look. So that's kind of those are my early thoughts on the format. I mean, I think the format potentially gives you a chance to play with a team that doesn't have a lot of bodies and develop a strategy around that. And so I'm a little bit intrigued by those possibilities.
I am too. I think that, for example, I had a Space Marine Theory Hammer build when this was first starting to come out, like the Sheldon's Slaughterfest packet and stuff. And before the Death Denied 3CP thing happened, it was like, ooh, Iron Hands, which is something people never play, and Terminators, which is something people never play. Suddenly it's like, okay, 2 wounds, 3 up in invuln, that tactic to pass mortal wounds off on a scout, kind of like Savior Protocols, but in Marines. It's like, ooh, that's really interesting. And then Death Denied on top of that. And so it was like, okay, the Iron Hands. Then now there's that invuln on top of, or not the invuln, the Feel No Pain. It was like, wow, these things can be really kind of hard to kill. And then it's like, okay, Intercessors also, you start packing them in there instead of maybe Scouts. it was just like, man, I think that the format kind of opened up some new things. I was sad to see the 3CP Death Denied because so much was hinging on that with, my weird original build that I was thinking.
Well, and for me too, because, I didn't expect to play that SoCal Army, the Astartes Army, for any other tournaments. Like, I expected to make it for one tournament and then bring it out. But having made them and painted them, and I really love the look and everything. And then with the format change, I thought, oh man, I can use them again. And then that 3-point Death Denied, I'm just not sure. But I'm going to give them some play. God, it's coming up fast. With the holidays and kids and stuff, it's going to be tough to have as much practice time as before. And on top of that, my sister-in-law moved in, and she's using the room that I usually play in.
Big change.
Big change. So that could be the difference maker at LVO, to be quite honest with you. Because I can't possibly get in as many reps as before. But that being said, I'm intrigued by that. And another thing I haven't had a chance to dive into as much as I want to is the tactics that are available for some factions. Even the Asuryani got some. At my first glance, none of them seem to be really scene stealing, but I know the Custodes got a big old pile of them. And then, I wonder if Chaos is something to think about too. Chaos Space Marines, that is to say. Had some other things they were relying on instead of Death Denied. Maybe there's something there. I don't know if I could conceivably convert my guys into a Chaos Army, but and then, man, I'll tell you, Sisters of Battle is so exciting, but I'm not even really looking at them yet because I can't possibly assemble that army before LVO, and that's where my focus is now. But that seems like, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't looked at them yet, but that's an exciting addition.
Yeah, I was really excited for them for that Miracle Dice, which they didn't get in Kill Team. Kind of, I'm hoping that it comes in a White Dwarf supplement or something, because it seemed kind of like that's what made them tick, or was going to make them tick in Big 40k and stuff like that. Was just that, like, oh, okay, I get to roll a die and bank it for later. If it's a 1, all right, that's a nerve test or something like that. Auto pass my guy, or girl, I guess, being a Sisters of Battle. And whereas, like, oh man, a 6 or something like that, I'm sure that would come in handy on something like an injury roll or a hit roll or something, or maybe a determination on a flamer weapon. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that hopefully they get more. So like with your Marines, just kind of a quick thing, before we move on from that, how do you think they'll do in the new format? Are you thinking of like for me, I would probably be going back to Salamanders. I think that missile launchers and stuff like that are crazy. You can pack the multiple aspects and sniper reroll, salamander reroll to hit, then the 1 CP reroll. If you're not putting the CP on Death Denied now, I think that you can really start to hedge the math in favor of hit rolls and wound rolls, and with some of these weapons.
Well, let me give you a comment on that. Let me give you an alternate take on that. I think that in general, when I'm putting together an army, I don't like to get too excited about, the sort of one theoretical attack where a few different combos come together and you get one big, strong, effort. Instead, I like to have multiple avenues that, none of them are 90% chances. I like to have multiple avenues of, say, 60% chance. And that was something that, when I tested with Salamanders before, that kind of led me, along with the fact that they changed the way rerolls worked, that led me away from them, right? Because you only reroll the 1 and the 2, and often, the thing you're trying to reroll was maybe going to hit on a 5 or whatever, because that's when you need it.
Correct.
And of course, I didn't bring. Well, I assume you know that I didn't bring any missile launchers when I came to SoCal, and the reason I found was that the lists where I wanted a missile launcher, strangely, the numbers came out that a plasma gun, a single plasma gun, it was just a little bit in favor, even if I was shooting at models with a lot of wounds. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that the downfall, really, it just depends what you're shooting at, what you're imagining it for, right? But, that AP-2 is a real limitation against a certain category of tough things that you might want to shoot a big gun at. So that was, that's kind of how I got that. And then the long range, which is a nice touch, is not as needed, I found in Kill Team. Right. So, then, when you're looking at maybe, a troop that can move and then shoot, 12 inches is often plenty good to get to that key target you want. Or so I theorized, right? You can't say for sure that that's always going to be the case. But I became a little, I don't want to say unenamored, but I couldn't quite justify that missile launcher. And, although the idea of potentially hitting on 2s and getting to reroll the 1 for hit and wound, there's no doubt that is good, but it's only one thing that does it, and you can still, the armor roll can still go wrong, the number of injury dice can still go wrong, and so it wasn't, it wasn't actually an auto kill, but so much of the army was kind of, when you're using your chapter tactic on just that, that's kind of what the extent of your chapter tactic is. I found that not to be as powerful, strangely, just the ability to move 2 inches further, which is just huge on the Kill Team board. So I don't know that I would go away from the white scars. I think that that would still be a good option. And it's not that I want to guarantee that nothing gets killed in 4 rounds, right? Which is, what a Custodes type plan is looking for. It's more that if you bring a bunch of durable bodies and then you're careful about them at different times, you might be able to deny that point twice, in 4 turns. And that 4-point swing is kind of the core of your win, if you will, right? Because you're going to get kill more, and they're not going to get kill 1. That's the theory, anyway. You do that twice, it's 4 points, and then you just, if you're playing a tough match where you have some disadvantages, you just need to think about, okay, well, I've got this 4-point edge. That's what I'm counting on, and now I can concede a point here or a point there because I've got weaknesses, and that was kind of my mentality.
That's actually
how it might.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. I was wondering if you thought that you would still go white scars in the new format, or if that completely changed it. Because so much in the thing, it was like, okay, positional. You play an arena, for example, something like that. Really, that extra 2 inches is huge. So what I'm hearing from you is that it seems like the addition of the 2 new kill primaries, in addition to the reduction of 1 positional primary, doesn't change that for you. That you still think that the 2 inches is huge, that movement is still probably king, perhaps?
Well, it's not necessarily that it's king, it's just that it's, Space Marines have a lot of other things, and I think that maybe that movement really gives them that versatility to compete on all fronts, right? Because, I found that in my last, playing those games at the Bay Area Open, my Marines were on the board, and they were competing positionally, even against teams that outnumbered them and everything else, because of their ability to get places quickly. And then I was able to dictate the way a few games went. Certainly I had a strong control of the flow in my game against the Admech player on the second day with the Space Marines, because of their mobility and the ability to get into the back line the very first turn. So, you're when you have a team that only can move 6 inches, and if they assault, it's not going to be that great, and you're probably going to lose a shot and everything. I don't know. I felt a lot more restricted, but we do have to remember that I'm a Eldar player first and foremost, so that's kind of how I'm used to playing.
Yeah, it's funny that we bring kind of some of the old faction that we're most familiar with into it. Like I was playing Tau at this last LVO prep, and I was charging my shield drones in and stuff. They were little Hormagaunts, like, oh, this guy I don't want you to be able to shoot. I'm gonna charge him in.
And I'll tell you, I did briefly consider taking Tau to SoCal, and I just couldn't wrap my mind around the play style very well of it. I don't know. I don't know how to say it better than that. I couldn't get comfortable with it, but I was able to make that adjustment with the Space Marines. And personally, I've always been intrigued. I know 6 months ago or whatnot, you were talking a lot about a 5-man Death Watch list and sort of having mapped out the first turn of arena and stuff. And I was always intrigued to see that in action, which I'm sure is quite a different style of play because you're relying on, me being outnumbered 2-1 in every game and having to deal with those doors and stuff, which, now thankfully is not a problem. That obviously that style of play and getting wins that way would involve a really different mentality, and then that might lead you to different list ideas.
Yeah, it was very much a bully mentality, and the same thing with my Space Wolves build was just that it was so important to hold 2, deny 1. That's why when I was looking at the Space Wolves and I saw that their company veterans could take jump packs and a flamer and a chainsword, it was like, ooh, so I can really get to that far objective, to the left of that interloper's board, for example, and just put that threat on them. I think that some Marine builds you really need to play bold, and that's kind of what it was like, okay, I will hold my 2, and I'm going to get around and really give you a hard time, because if you charge, D6 auto hits, everybody's in range. If you just want to hold on to that objective, I'm going to D6 auto hits and take that from you. So it was kind of like there was no right answer. And even if it's not that, I felt that it asked a question of the opponent, and I almost feel like anytime that you ask somebody a question, it gives them the chance to make a mistake. Like, okay, what are you going to do now? And a lot of times, hopefully, it's what I want. Because even if you make the right choice, it's still probably going to be in my favor somewhat with those kinds of builds in that exact situation. And I think that nerf to Metabolic Overdrive, there was one counter basically to that a lot that worried me that nobody ever came up with, and it was basically like if you take a frag cannon or a flamer, the Metabolic Overdrive people used to just think about it as, it lets me make a turn 1 charge, but it was like, no, you could normal move outside of that auto hitting range, so suddenly that frag is going from 2d6 auto hits to 2 shots hitting on a 6, and then declare the charge there, and the math is just way better in your odds now. And that was kind of what I was expecting people to start doing, but they never really did. And even though I was only having, say 5 models, I had a RTT with the Death Watch where I faced a 20 model Tyranid list, and they had 3 models left on the board at the end of the turn, or at the end of the game. It was just like, man, this is really killy. If they don't know what to do and they play into it or something like that, it's, I don't know, it was really hard. So that was kind of the focusing on that was really dictating tempo, like they call it in chess, just that who is kind of in charge thing. And Marines really let you do that with certain builds and against certain matchups. So
I know I've heard the term initiative, where you put the initiative on your opponent. I know in one of the Warhammer 40k podcasts, I think Sean Morgan used that term, where you want, we normally think of initiative as like you go first and that's your thing, but his concept of it was that you put the opponent into a position where they need to do something to change the game state. In other words, you get the game to where you want it, and then they are obliged to change the game state if they want to be able to win. And that's passing the initiative, basically. Yeah. And so it sounds like that was part of the concept.
Yep. Yeah, it was. And, it worked good in the last format, but I don't know, maybe the new one, I'm not sure if it would still go, or now, maybe people, I think the players are getting better all the time. And some of the little dirty tricks and haha, gotcha kind of stuff is kind of like, it's getting harder to find them, as I move into like a new faction and what is going to be the cheese here or something like that. It's really just coming down to win condition for me. I had Elliot Miller on recently, and we were doing a whole thing on the win condition, and it's like, I think that the packet wants something from you. And I think that that's the thing to kind of focus on now more than anything, is like that cult build that I had at SoCal. It was just kind of like, this is what I need to do to win. Everything is built on that. The list, every decision, the secondaries that I pick, all of that stuff. I think that the packet kind of tells you, this is what I want. And so I'm kind of moving in that direction more than the bespoke weird piece of cheese that I'm able to find every now and again. because they don't last forever. The cheese and stuff, all that's needed is a FAQ. 3 CP, death denied, all of a sudden there goes my whole build. And so...
Well, I mean, aside from that, it's hard to win 6 games in a row with a gimmick.
That's true. Yeah.
And I haven't won 6 games in a row, so that might be part of the issue there, is over-reliance on the gimmicks or something to that effect. So... with the new format, kind of moving on a little bit, do you think positional play is dead now? We kind of touched on that with with you thinking that white scars are still good, but a lot of people are saying, it swings things too far in one direction, something like that. What do you think? Is positional dead in the new format?
Well, I think in terms of maybe, spamming kind of worthless units just to kind of guarantee a positional edge, I don't think that will be a strong style play most of the time, because it's going to too easily concede the kill more every turn if your opponent handles it properly. But that doesn't mean that having a lot of bodies might not be useful, depending on the map and your ability to kind of protect them. Now that I don't know if something has come out really recently that I haven't seen yet, but at the moment I don't exactly know what the maps are going to look like. My understanding is they're basically going to be open boards with a decent amount of line-of-sight blocking and impassable terrain. Not sure if it's impassable to flyers or not. But
at the moment, for most of it.
That is good. I think that's because otherwise you'd be pretty encouraged to take the flyers if there's a bunch of impassable terrain that only they can get over.
Yeah.
So, if there's good line of sight blocking, then, having a lot of bodies, sometimes you can just put them all in a place where your opponent doesn't want to go, and then you've got your kind of, your reserves to move somewhere or to put focus somewhere. So I think that, there's still going to be a place for a larger list. That's my hope anyway. And we'll just see, who plays well. What's going to happen is we're going to have, a few people who bring their concept who are really good players, and then one of them is going to win, and there's probably going to be an overreaction to whatever that win is, right? That's what the meta is. But really, it's, there might have been 4 people there who could have won if things had just gone a little bit in their favor. So my hope is that it will put us in a spot where, maybe a 6-person team and a 14-person team both have an equal chance, in sort of a, in a game if they play well. I'd like to think that. And we'll have to see how the results come out, and maybe it just turns out that, it's going to be a challenge to have to be able to consider Custodes, right? If everybody has to expect to see Custodes, and everybody has to be able to kill those units and find a way to win against them, that is going to be a big limiter. And it's for that reason I've really cautioned against thinking about Custodes too much, because I think that they, any format that's good for them is probably going to unbalance the game tremendously. Mm-hmm. And we might have that spot, but I don't know that for sure. It's just a kind of a fear.
So yeah, at the last LVO prep tournament that just happened, there was actually 2 Custodes players, and it was my first time ever facing them. I had looked at them on paper and stuff like that, and man, it was really interesting. I think one of them ate 11 rail rifle shots, and in the entire thing with souped up. This wasn't I'm obscured in long range and stuff like it was hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. Demo spec guy cranked up, and I did 1 injury roll that whole game. I put a flesh wound on a Custodes, and that was it. So it's rough. I don't quite think that it completely kills positional, due to the fact that positional is a lot of times a more efficient style of play, and it has a lot of player agency. Like, for example, to even just kill, it's like, okay, I have to be in range or make a successful charge, I have to roll to hit, I have to roll to wound, they get their save, then there's that 4-up or 5-up on the injury roll. So that's 5 steps just for the kill, a 6th minimum for the secondary. Like, okay, now I have all those steps and I have to run over and pick up a token, for example. So it's like, okay, 5 to 6 steps required versus I just move model to point X, and that's it. So I think that certain teams are just going to realize, I'm an elite team and I can also do some of these positional things, and I'll be getting the kills.
Most of your opponent's force, then you start getting the positionals whether you built for it or not.
Yeah.
And I guess that's, I think that's something that Mike Brand had brought up before. We have an incentive to kill already, because you're going to win positionals if you kill most of the opponent. And so then putting an extra incentive on to kill, doesn't that sort of just take, to put the positional on the back seat? Well, I think it would put it in the back seat for casual play. Maybe that's a good way to put it. Like, I think the good players might be able to get around it, but I think that that format will make a more bang style game for players who are playing a simpler game.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's a good thing, and I think that it gets closer to that 40k ITC, which I think that what we've been playing was based on anyway, but it was just half of the format, where it was just, we're going to import the positionals over, add one more positional, and totally gut all the kill primaries that were part of the game originally that we borrowed from. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's worth trying, and I think that there's also... What was that? I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I said certainly. And that was you talking over you, which we're not supposed to do.
No worries. But I think that there's a few things there. Like, for example, if I just wipe the board, basically, and I don't have enough to max my points, that's a consideration. I think we might actually have players get to a position right now for the first time where maybe I have a rail rifle souped up, ready to go, comms on top of the recon sweep, all that, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s, and I don't take the shot because I need him to be alive next turn, because I've already scored my kill 1, kill more this turn. And if I kill him, that won't be there next turn. So it's really interesting. I think it's, in a way, a bit more cerebral because those situations have never come up before. Usually it's like, if I can kill him, I kill him. If I can hold this position, I hold this position, whatever. Yeah, it's just really interesting.
Well, I mean, you'd have to be winning pretty well, though, to not want to. I mean, unless it's an unimportant thing you're killing.
Yeah.
I think usually. But, it could happen. I mean, if you kill 5 things the first turn, you might put you in a spot where you are likely to kill 0 the second turn, and then that's no good for you. You kind of have to maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think that I do remember hearing Nick Nanavati talk about that.
Interesting.
So it's certainly a worthwhile concept.
I like Nick Nanavati, fellow cult player.
There you go. That's what I've lately, right?
Yeah.
I think of him as an Asuryani player, but
oh, that's true.
He played that.
Well,
that was kind of something I was wondering about. Is it leads in perfectly to? Do you think people should just run the same faction? Do you think that packet dictates what somebody should play if they have the ability to, have multiple factions? Is that better? Do you think that somebody should just have something they love, like the diehard orc players that go and roll and yell wah every game? They've been playing orcs for 10 years. Now they're doing it in Kill Team. Do you think one's better than the other?
Well, no, I don't think one's. I mean, you have to do what you enjoy doing in the game, right? And if you enjoy having a faction and feeling a kinship with that faction, then I think that is, if that's what you enjoy, then you got to play your faction. And then, it gives you a chance to, when your faction's on the outs, to be creative and to kind of go in with no fear to a tournament knowing, well, I'm expected to lose. So let's do something crazy and see if we can kind of turn the world upside down. But on the other hand, there's no doubt that a lot of people do collect multiple armies, and it's so easy to do in, Kill Team, that I certainly wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that. And I think that as the game gets more sophisticated and more people get interested in the ITC, people are absolutely going to change factions for the circumstance. We saw Chuck go from Necrons to Tyranids when he went to Nova, right? Obviously, that was a move he made because he's like, I want to take a stronger shot to win.
Yeah.
And I think that Eric brought Tau as opposed to his other two. He also has Thousand Sons and Dark Eldar. He chose Tau, I think, because he thought it was the strongest. And I think that's what people kind of should do in tournaments. Because if everybody's just bringing what they like, it's kind of, it's a little unfair. It doesn't necessarily say who's the best, right? But we want the best. If the balance has failed and there's something that's better than the other factions. We want lots of good players playing it, so we can actually see who the best player is, since we already know who the best faction is. Maybe in an unbalanced situation. And I feel like balance has been pretty good. We'll see what happens going into LVO. I think that the town hasn't been restricted in any way, so on one hand they're very strong, but on the other hand I don't know if they're going to be quite as good with the... I mean, they are pretty durable. They just have a lot of weaknesses, but still, I don't think that anything about the new format helps them. So, that being said, maybe it does help some other formats, and almost invariably it helps some other formats. And therefore, I don't think I can say anymore that I think Tau is the number one faction to bring to LVO. But it probably is a number one, and we might have some insight into what it is when we play all the big games.
So, do you think that Tau is number one?
Well, not as much as I did. I think I would definitely have said that I thought Tau was number one at BAO. And, I did say that I thought Tau was number one for Nova. Particularly that I think format, as I recall, had a couple extra things that were in the favor of Tau. And Tau did win. I knew that Aric wasn't coming to SoCal, and so not to say that Luke and Oodsicle aren't good players too, but my untested opinion is that Aric was probably the strongest Tau player going in there. So I knew he was going to be there, so I thought, well, it might be a little bit open for some other factions, and it did prove to be so. Yeah, I don't know that I don't feel like Tau is a clear number one. I think that we all kind of feel like the drones are a little bit wrong. I don't know. They don't kill very much. Tau in general are not super killy.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But I experienced that same thing. I experienced that exact same thing at this last con. It was like, okay, if I gain initiative, they're just going to hide. If I lose initiative, they're gonna move out, and deny there, and I'm gonna have to come out to them where I am. They can hit me, and then that breaks up any castling thing I had. It was just an interesting thing. So okay, if you can't, I understand not saying okay, this one is the best. Do you think that with what you've seen in the faction or the format so far or anything like that there might be a top three that you think might have been maybe the winners of the packet? Because like we were talking about, okay, are you Eldar till you die or something like that? I think that there comes a time for that, but I also think that every packet has a winner. And I'm just wondering kind of what do you think the winners are in this new format? Just the first things that come to mind. Doesn't have to be... If we had 2 point death denied, I think that Astartes would have been the winner of the packet.
Okay.
But we don't have 2 point death denied, and so that was probably a good counterpoint. Obviously Astartes before were not in any way overpowered. Even the 2 point, we weren't seeing that much out of them. But with this change in format, Astartes are Custodians are the most durable, but Astartes were really in a way a close second because of that ability to do the death denied turn one, and their ability to kind of guarantee a few turns of kill zero. That was going to be powerful, combined with their ability to bring so many different kinds of units in the bodies and stuff. So, but that's I don't want to say it's out the window because they might still be okay. I'm thinking Custodes are a big contender. Most of the other teams that were good before were the teams that were bringing a pretty good number of bodies. The Asuryani, the Dark Eldar, the Tau, the Orcs. None of them are helped, really, by this format, I don't think. So it feels like it opens it up, and I have a hard time telling you off the top who I think the top is going to be, except for Custodes. That's like my gut feeling.
So let's talk a little bit about Custodes. What do you think of them?
Well, I don't think that I understand they always want to, they want to bring everybody in and let people play the factions that they like. But, Custodes are, it's like if they brought in a faction that could, at least, their smallest possible army was 20 bodies. And so they had to bring 20 bodies to Kill Team every time. And then they'd be pushing, they'd be saying, hey, it's not fair. The roster size should be increased so that we can have other options and bring 25 or 30. And then everybody else would be like, well, we can't do that, so it doesn't help us. Why should we do that? And somebody else would say, well, we can kind of do that, Tyranids or whatever. But on the whole, it would just be like, you're putting this faction like at the far edge of the spectrum. And then it just puts people in a position where they're like, oh, we need to balance around them, or else it's not fair. And I think Custodians are exactly that on the other end. And, whatever. I know they've written some books about them and everything, but, Games Workshop doesn't always build these things because they think it'll be good for the game. They build it because they kind of know what people want to buy, right? I mean, that's what they're doing. They're kind of pushing the plastic, and people get excited about elite models, so they just, okay, this is even more. At one point, Space Marines were elite, but now there's like 6 more elite types of Space Marines.
The Death Watch, right? The more elite.
Right. And we can only presume that there will one day be reveals an even more elite kind of Custodians. Right. I mean, it's just the creep of the game. So that being said, I don't think they're a great fit for the Kill Team format, and I think that they have encouraged people to really worry that the game wasn't balanced because they didn't have a place for it. But we'll see. Maybe they're not as, I don't know. I mean, I just know they're so terrifying. Yeah. I'm probably biased against them a little bit. That's part of what's going on here. But I think that they're going to be a gatekeeper list for sure.
I would agree. And I think that simply by virtue of going against them, it's going to affect your overall performance in the tourney. Just in the standings after that game, you're going to be lower than somebody that didn't go against them, most likely, because that total denial of kills.
Right, like you might have a list that was before pretty versatile and everything, and you didn't have to worry about a Custodian's opponent. Now you do, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on some lists. I think that the Asuryani are a decent one to go against Custodians because they have a fair number of units that can potentially kill one, or they can avoid them a little bit easier maybe than other people. I haven't really tested all that, but I think that Asuryani has the flexibility that it's not going to crush them. But I feel like there might be some other factions, without having specifically tested it, where they're just going to come to a hard stop when they have to readjust to consider the Custodian's opponent, and those are going to be the losers, and we might see them when the standings come out.
Yeah. So for your top 3 so far, we have 2. We have Tau, and then we would have Custodians. What do you think of Grey Knights? Because I've been looking at this packet, and I really think, for me, one of the winners is Grey Knights, for sure. Because, there's 5 steps required for the kill normally. A Cybolt is only 2 steps. You have the test and then the injury roll. So that bypasses a lot. They have the 2. They have incinerators also, so they can kind of do the bully thing I was just talking about, where it's like, okay, I'm going to deny you positionals. So I think it's Grey Knights taking positional secondaries. Some of these positional secondaries are so good for them. Like, okay, the new Scout the Field basically it's one model within 2 inches of 2 board edges. So one model can hold that now a lot of times. Or I know that there was some of that before with 2 models and stuff, but now it's like, okay, an elite model can be doing the Scout the Field analog. And then you're going to get your kill, at least kill 1, probably kill more. I don't know. I just think that they're really good. I've been running some stuff, and I think that Grey Knights are top.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Grey Knights is their durability is not exactly top-notch. But they do have a lot of killiness. I mean, almost per unit more than anybody else because of those 2 psychic tests. I know that when I was looking at my Astartes list and thinking how to get it down to 100 points, I spent so much time testing against Grey Knights to try to get a 125-point list that I thought, had a consistent strategy to potentially beat Grey Knights, and then I never faced them. So it was also nuts. But when I looked at adjusting that to 100 points, I was really struggling. And so that probably does go to show that Grey Knights are looking good, because I was sort of like starting at 0 with adjusting to them, which wasn't happening with some other factions. My Tau list, I easily got down to 100 points in my thinking about the concept. So, yeah, I could see that for sure. I mean, I think maybe Death Watch too somehow, because they've really been, their thing that really made them lag behind the regular Astartes was the Death Denied, and now they've got. I mean, they still don't have that much more viability, but they do have those. I don't know. I think that maybe Death Watch and Grey Knights can both. I think they're both winners. Yeah, that much. They're both winners of the format. Is that going to make them top tier? Well, maybe. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're thinking about. I can probably borrow a Grey Knight army. Boy, you got me.
Yeah, I know Oodsicle, I think, is
going to run them. Yeah, it's. I think they're great in close combat. There's a lot of multi-damage in there, which is, hey, this is what some of the secondaries want, is things like that. I just think that they're a clear, when I started looking at things and comparing factions and stuff, it was like, wait a minute, these guys have less conditions to meet the same results as other people, or other factions, basically. And that alone started to, let me say, wait a minute, winner here. And then, I mean, the 2 Cybolts per turn is just disgusting. So it's 2 injury rolls, basically, you can count on. You're going to miss 1 out of 6 statistically on your roll, probably. Yeah, and there is the perils to worry about and things like that too, I guess. But man, there's just so much to that. You can run the 2 incinerators and run them up if somebody's still going to run anything T3 and a 5-up. It's like, whew. Oh man, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, I love the just the psychic ammunition ability. I thought.
Oh, Cybolt, yeah.
Yeah, that's a neat one. I mean, I think it was generally, you're going to have to do a veteran. Well, I don't know. We'll see what the boards look like. But probably a veteran move, and then save it for that reroll on the psychic test. And then if you don't need to do that, which most of the time you won't, then you got the Cybolt ammunition, as I think you're a pretty obvious second pick. Because, man, that makes that gun. I mean, a Starbolt is already a pretty decent gun against a lot of opponents. People underestimate things that don't have AP, but you don't always need AP.
Yeah.
But then you give it, AP -1. That's it's a big jump.
And 4 shots, and it's not bad, and they can be calmed. I just think that between the 2 Cybolts and something like the Flamer, or a Stormbolter souped up with Cybolt ammunition, they're going to be able to take like 2 guys and go after that spicy objective and prevent the other guy who might have just gone positional, who might be totally banking on, this is how I'm going to win this match, so I'm going to outbody them and outposition them. It's kind of like, I don't know if that's going to always be the case.
Right. I think, in general, that strategy is going to run into some obstacles. Somebody who thinks they're going to be all, the 20 Tyranid list is going to, it's only going to be a gatekeeper at this point, I think.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a 6-game winner, I wouldn't even think a 5-game winner unless the user is really thought things through.
So, are there any factions or builds that you think are hurt by the new format?
Well, I think demons are hurt by the new format. They give up a lot of kills. No way around it, right? I mean, if you were trying to make like a 20 gaunt list, and of course 125 points. I don't even know if that change had happened last time we talked, or if I was aware of it. Initially, I thought it was going to be 100 points for LVO. 125 just fix that. But if you're going to make a drone spam list that is just got a lot of shield drones, or if you're going to make a gaunt list that just wants to be on the table, or a demon list, which is like that too. It's a list that's kind of hard to get rid of, but not the same way that custodians are hard to get rid of. All those are going to be hurt because they don't kill. They do get killed, even though there's a lot of them. They don't get removed. The whole army doesn't get removed, but the units die. So they're going to really suffer from that second, that primary. I mean, if just because you have a lot of bodies doesn't mean you're always going to get hold more. But not being good at killing does kind of guarantee you that you're not going to get kill more, is what I find. Because even units that don't have a lot of bodies, if they're good at killing, they'll go out and hold a couple objectives. And they might be scary to contest. But if you can't kill, like, you just can't kill. You're just not going to get those points. And it's like a 6-point hole to get out of, which, with everybody being able to pick whatever secondaries they want, I mean, the 6-point hole is insurmountable.
Absolutely. What do you think of free choice secondaries? Are you a fan of it? Are you against it? Does it just not matter? You play what the packet tells you that day?
Yeah, well, I mean, that is true. I don't like them in conjunction with the kill more, hold more. I mean, I think it gives too many armies the ability to, like, play just the way they want to play and not have to adapt. And that's, you know, again, my favorite secondaries were, you know, a mission that was designed to be played, you know, with some secondaries in mind, and so what I'm finding, you know, like I played some games with Custodes, and although theoretically Custodes could take a couple different things, I think I've taken the same secondaries with every Custodes game I've played. It's just, and they never have to go away from that, right? Because they can just always take that, and it makes a boring faction even more boring, I guess.
Are you going mostly positional with your Custodes as you're doing your testing games?
No. With my Custodes, I am. I guess I could think about that, but no. I mean, I'm taking killing secondaries.
Okay.
Because, well, I mean, I'm finding that they're scoring them. I guess that's why I keep doing it. You know, it is an interesting. I mean, it is an interesting question because they, you know, Custodes do have that feature of, you know, they really dominate wherever they go, the space that they go. Now, they can always be beaten off of any one thing by somebody who's just willing to sacrifice the models, but I do find that the teams I'm running against Custodes are often trying to avoid the Custodes, and so it is possible that Custodes could do well with positionals, but it's just a little bit outside their control, because I think the other guy is always going to be able to take, you know, you can't take, like, the board edges with Custodes. They don't move fast enough, and they need to be other places than the board edges, right? If you take center, I think you're restricting where your guys can be too much, because then I guess that's the best place to be restricted to is the center. But as soon as you score the point there, you know, your opponent is going to have the ability to deny it, and they might just say, well, you know what, a scrum in the center is going to be fine for me, and they just keep more bodies there, and you can lose control. Whereas if you take cut apart, you know, I mean, I think you're pretty reliably going to get one of those 3 times. Yeah. And so too Bounty Hunter, right? Or Relic Hunter, they call it now.
Yeah.
You know, pretty easy to take. So you kind of get, you know, Relic Hunter and cut apart. Those two are pretty easy. I think the third one is in question. You could consider taking the center objective, but and you could also consider taking Recon Sweep, although that's a high variance choice with Custodes because the guy you send forward, and this is going totally off the subject of what you just asked, but the problem with Custodes is that in about 1 out of 3 games, the dice kind of go bad for them and they lose a guy right off the bat. However improbable it was, it just kind of happened, and they're going to really struggle to win that game. And therefore, if you're looking to win a tournament, you know, 5 games in a row, Custodes are going to be really a tough faction to ask to do that. But that being said, I think they're going to dominate, or they should dominate everybody's thinking about what they might face when they get there, because everybody needs to be ready to face them, and they're so different. Yeah. And so they're kind of the quintessential gatekeeper. LVO.
They have a target on their back, but they're also, there's a reason for it, and it's funny because like you were talking about the positionals and stuff and how, people avoid them and all that. It's funny because it's like you try to play them in the traditional way of, okay, like my first match against them, I was playing Tau, and it was like, okay, I'll just pretend they're Hormagaunts and I'll run these little drones into them to stop them from shooting. It's like, no, that gave them kill one and kill more, so it's like, man, getting them off of the objectives is interesting. But you make a good point that if you lose the guy, if it goes bad, can you stick to pure positional at that point? It's kind of like, no, you kind of need to double down on the kills.
Yeah, no, I mean, if they lose a guy round one, I think a good opponent's just going to beat them.
Yeah.
But, not everybody's a good opponent, and not everybody's going to do the right thing. I think one thing that's interesting when you're playing Custodes is if you do kill one the first round, your thinking might be, oh, well, now I've got them, there's only 2 of them left, and then you kind of try to swarm them, and that would, in my experience, goes poorly, because those, they can kill an almost unlimited number of things if the dice go well for them. And so, like, the idea that you're going to wipe the Custodes off the table should never really enter your mind. But with only 2 bodies, it does become very hard for them to score objectives and secondaries and pursue you. Like, it's just very hard for them to do all 3 of those things. And so, you just need to be mindful of which ones they're not able to do, and then make sure that that you work to prevent them from doing, one of those 3, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense. And, the reason I ask, and it's interesting that Custodes came up here, is because I was asking about the free choice secondaries. What do you think of them? The thing about Custodes is as soon as the hold kill came up, it kind of seemed to, some of the TOs I was talking about, that free choice kind of became mandatory at that point due to the fact of that points compression that they do, where it's just, okay, I went against these guys, the RNG of the bracket said, hey, I'm facing Custodes now, and like some of these secondary, the pods of 6, as well balanced and well meaning as they are, it was like I was showing Sheldon one time, it's like, look, 2 of these are potential to score out of the 6. So it's like you're already not maxing there. You're only getting 2 possible secondary maxes. You're also not going to get probably kill one or kill more, possibly kill one time, for 1 point. So it's like that's 7 points right off the bat that you've just lost out just because of who you faced in that pod of 6 with kill and hold. And it's like, man, I was just kind of wondering on your thoughts. Do you think that Custodes being what they are and being kind of a mandate to the game and us trying to go to this kill and hold type format, that it made free choice mandatory perhaps?
Well, I mean, you do make an interesting point. I mean, because, I mean, you really need to have a hope of beating Custodes. You really need to dominate on the other features, and although you probably are pretty well positioned, I mean, depending on who you are, you should be able to get hold more against them. You're going to have you're going to have a 1 to 3 point deficit, because they're going to hold one. And I think the best you can hope for is that they'll get full points on kill 1, kill more. But maybe, I mean, hiding from them even for 2 full rounds, like hiding all of your units from them is hard to imagine, but that's the best you could hope for. You couldn't do it for 3. So you kind of you have at least a 1 point deficit on secondaries, and so if you're given a secondary where you really only can score 6 instead of 9, I think it as you said, it does become almost hopeless to beat them. Mm-hmm. So and that highlights the fact that Custodes are bad for the game, in my opinion.
I agree.
I've been against him since day one.
I have less harsh tones before, but they're just bad for a kill team. They probably, I don't think they're bad for Big Warhammer, but they don't really belong in kill team. And in the best formats, I think that they will be a team that doesn't play well. Like, the rule set kind of needs to force them out, because if the rule set allows them in, then it really hurts a lot of other people.
Yeah,
lot of other pieces of the game.
It's an extreme, and like right now, Sheldon basically said he's going to run it, but he wants me to write a lot of the packet for Bay Area Open this year. And it's like, man, they are such a breaking point of so many things, so many secondary. Okay, you want to do pods of 6? No, Custodes. You want to do Killy secondaries? Well, that's a problem because Custodes are there, so you have to give elite teams the ability to do positional secondaries that one model can score, perhaps, but then hordes are going to have access to that, so it's like we come back to the kill secondaries again. It's just like, man, Custodes are a problem from a balance perspective and trying to make a packet. They're just a real thorn in my side right now as I'm kind of looking at this and thinking months out, without even knowing, hey, is there going to be another kind of a supplement released, some other faction? We don't really know what the future holds there. And so there's that kind of wrench that could come into the plans to worry about and think about. And then it's like, man, these Custodes, this one team is just making things so interesting when it comes to designing a packet right now.
Yeah, but they're taking up a lot of oxygen.
Right. It's like going from
right. For one tournament, it's a fun project. But if this was, I think if it was consistent, it would become annoying quickly and hurt the game.
Because it's like, okay, we want paper, rock, scissors, but this is like paper, wet noodle, dynamite. Between them and demons and stuff like that, it's kind of like, oh, this is interesting to balance. I just, it's getting interesting there.
Yeah. So you'd initially asked about losers, and Crude were a big loser. Not that they weren't winners before, but they're bigger losers now. And I think there's just a little bit of, as much as people felt like there was a horde meta. And I would contest that there was a horde meta because we weren't seeing hordes winning most of the time, at least not, like over 15 hordes. If you consider 12 a horde, then that's a different matter. But as much as sort of positional play was dominant, I do think we're going to see a harder correction in the other direction. I would almost wonder if, if killing secondaries need to be reduced to some extent, or maybe you can only take one killing secondary, something along those lines, because, just to paraphrase Mike Bryant, we're already incentivized to kill the opponent, because that allows all kinds of things in the game to happen, right? Among other things, it stops them from killing you. And then when you add that as a primary, when you have to be killing, then that, and then when the third thing is, secondaries are giving you credit. I think it pushes away from the rest of the game to too great an extent, and when you take Custodes again at the example, that the small number of units they have makes the whole operation such a high variance operation that I think high variance is kind of the bane of player skill. Mm-hmm. Right?
I agree. I want to reduce RNG as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're making the game more and more about, okay, well, how are these 5 die rolls going to go? And if they go well, you're going to win, even if you play kind of lackluster. And if they go poorly, there's really nothing you can do. That's not good. And the thing about the positional game is it wasn't dice dependent, right? And so, although people might not have been able to bring some kinds of lists they wanted to bring and succeed, or at least not easily succeed, at least it did allow people to play without being completely enslaved to chance.
Right.
So, but that's Custodes, and if I don't think we need to be totally obsessed with them. Like, it's going to be a thing, and I wouldn't recommend to any strong players to bring Custodes because the dice, you are reliant on your dice. There's just no way around it. If you fail, people are going to shoot at you unless they're just, give up hope as soon as they see you. They're going to shoot at you, and it's going to go long one game, you're going to lose the guy, and then you're going to be at your wit's end to make it work. And so that's not a good tool to bring. Yeah. And yet, I'm sure some people like Custodians, and some people are going to like the fact that they can kind of tend to win a lot. And so we're going to see them.
Yep, they're a low floor or barrier to entry type faction, I think. That like you could come and they got kind of like training wheels or like a safety net kind of, where you're going to come up and things can go bad, like any faction, but overall in general it's going to be a tough match for the other guy. Probably.
Right, and a low mental load. I was thinking about that. Like the thing that people would complain about that 20 Hormigaunt list, but that list had a really high mental load. All your games are going to go to max time. You're never going to get a break. You've always got to think a lot about every movement phase. It takes a lot of work to play it, and to play it well and to be consistent and not make a mistake. It really took a high level of skill. And the Custodian's army is like the lowest mental load you can imagine, right? I mean, you have very few units to manage, and you've only got a couple movements to decide. So you can really, initially I was considering them because I'm like, well, maybe you can really devote a lot of thought to sort of the tactics and stuff like that. But ultimately I found that there wasn't quite enough to dig my teeth into to make that a good project.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, you bring Custodians, and you're going to have a 45-minute break between matches. You're going to go get a beer and have a snack and everything else like that.
That's how it was with my Death Watch, and it's why I'm really thinking about him again. It's like, man, that you're exactly 100% right. Like, man, and you know what takes that up to even a higher notch was running the cults, that neophyte spam of the 20-man list, because it's like they had the cult ambush before, and they had shooting. Hormagaunts don't have shooting. So this is like, okay, 16, 17 guys of a shooting phase now on top of the positional, running the 20 guys and stuff. So it was like, man, it was a lot. So okay, getting kind of just before we leave on the positional, the secondary format, stuff like that. I understand where Mike Brandt is coming from there. We are incentivized to do the things that we were doing in the positional. My fear on that, and I'm not sure if I'm right, but I feel like it's kind of like how people say, okay, we would pick the same secondaries every game with free choice and stuff like that. I feel like it's getting to the point where with the positionals and that argument about no free choice secondaries because you'd pick the same, stuff like that, eventually we would find one team does something better than a lot of the other teams, and it'll be like a handful of like, okay, tune in next time, folks, to see which demon spam or Tau drone spam won next time, because in the positional format, when it's like, oh, hold the center, demons and drones, the positional, oh, get to the enemy's deployment zone, okay, demons and drones. Like, there's so much of this stuff that it was getting to be, I worry about once people realize what these can do, only that, or a lot, of a proliferation of that. And that's kind of what the hold and kill kind of a thing was potentially going to balance. I don't know if it would with shield drones having that invuln, but all of a sudden there was.
When you were mentioning the shield drones and charging into the Custodians, my thought was like, ooh, that's a pretty good thing to charge into a Custodian.
Yeah, I mean they're surprisingly resilient. I was playing against AdMech Plasma and did a deep strike one with the LVO pack at this prep because the new Scout the Field, you can do one model holding those two board edges, and there was a stack with being in the enemy's DZ. So it's like this one model, 7 points, was getting, like, he had plasmas shooting at him 3 or so a turn, and he lasted the full thing to max that, just this one 7-point little drone. So they are beasts, man. And so I don't know. That's what I worry about with the positional only. Is it's like, it's getting to be where.
I mean, you could be right. We hadn't seen, just in terms of the big tournaments, we hadn't seen either of those lists dominate. But it might not just be that not enough people brought them yet or whatnot. I think that the demons were not. I think demons are beatable. Not to say that that's not a good army or whatnot, but I don't think they were going to be so dominant. But I do worry a little bit more about the Tau with the extra shield drones. Yeah. Although my Asuryani beat that in SoCal, it does seem really formidable to me, and maybe if you got a lot of people who are all playing it and just working it and getting all the pieces of it ironed out, maybe that would fill that role, like you're saying.
Yeah, like there's final form lists that I've been kind of like afraid to talk about and also afraid to bring because I worried about what they would do to the game. Like that shield drone list, I think the final form of that is 17 shield drones, 1 Kroot leader. And because it's like Poxwalker spam on steroids. Poxwalker 5-inch move, 5-inch move Poxwalker, 8 inches now and fly. 5-up FNP, no. 4-up invuln, 5-up FNP. It's like, oh man, this is the way it goes. And then look what that did at Adepticon.
Right about that. That might well be an almost unbeatable.
It was like
people just.
Yeah, it was like, man, if this comes out, if people realize what this does, it's going to be broken. And I feel the same thing with demons. I think that people have been running, they latched on to the Poxwalker spam, and it's like, no, horror spam, because you can take 10 at 125, that's 50 models on splits, and the LVO packet buffed them to LD8. So it's like, man, that is...
Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
So what buffed them to leadership 8?
So the LVO pack basically added sub-factions for the bespoke teams that did not have them originally.
Oh my god.
Right. And so one of the things one of the things that they got is demons, the Pantheon, all 4 gods got a potential buff, like Khorne, +1 strength or whatever.
They were pretty small though, but you're saying one of them was +1 leadership?
On the horror spam, the one that would have benefited the most from that, they got it. So now they're LD8. The splits that you kill do not count towards the LD break, the crash that's going on. So you've got all these guys running around LD8, 4-up invulns, and they have the most efficient kill or melee, not melee, offensive attack in the game, which is just there's no conditions basically to it other than can you roll over a 5, can you see the guy, injury roll.
So let's see, I guess it's 125 points, so what do they cost, 12 each, so you can bring 10?
Yep, that includes the leader, and it would include the horn blower.
Points left or whatever. Yeah, well, I mean, it's true, the plus, I would never have... considering especially that, by and large, I skimmed over the extra faction traits, and most of them were pretty minor. It was like you get something for you, but they were really light. That one was really poorly considered.
Well, I see it as like, that's an extra turn, basically. I mean, that was the thing a lot of times was you weren't getting that turn 4, which is crucial now.
And I think that the other thing I noticed about the demons that I didn't put any thought into is I think you have to take all of one kind of demon to get your faction trait.
Yes.
But that's probably for the best with the horror spam.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of how I see it.
The other thing that people brought these horror spam lists with some maybe the plague bearers or a couple other things, and that was actually the weak point because you kind of left the horrors alone. You flesh wounded the plague bearer or whatever else, or the bloodlether or whatever, and then you hit those horrors at the end just to get you to that break point, right?
Yep.
That was my thinking anyway for how to beat it. So you take out the other things, and now all you've got are horrors, and that would be you might be right there.
And they would break. They would crash turn 3 or the end of turn 3, and it was just like okay. And that was with say 4 horrors. They were giving people a hard time, and it was like you said. Yes, you could break them and stuff, but now turn 4 is just super crucial in LVO because you can't max if you're not getting that turn 4 in a lot of cases, because that hold 1, hold more, kill 1, kill more. You need that 4th turn to get that last VP. It seemed like when I was looking at it originally, so I think that it's like super crucial, and it's already a list that was a potential problem, and then now it has that +1 LD. The question is, are people going to run it? See, I don't know how big of a problem it's going to be because are you going to get on a plane with 50 models? That's something that's really just a logistical thing for me right now is like, do I really want to paint and, fly with 50 models right now? So I'm not sure if we'll see it. I'm not sure if it's going to end up being a big, huge problem because this is just theory hammer right now that I'm like looking at the numbers and thinking, what's going to be a problem?
Yeah, I mean, they do kill, so whereas whereas the drone spam list you mentioned, I think would have been a terror in the old format, but I mean, it doesn't, not killing anything, it does make it very, very hard to win. So I don't think that the drone shield drone spam is probably removed as a threat, but I could see the all horror list being a real hassle.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued. I'm really going to do a lot of practicing against Grey Knights, and I think that's going to be, challenging, particularly for my Astartes, who, I had a Grey Knights list, and I felt like it was doing pretty well, but that was with the 2-point death denied, and the 3-point death denied is, I don't think it's fatal in all cases, but it's going to be a real negative in that particular matchup.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Previously, you weren't going to get a kill the first round, pretty much guaranteed, with the Grey Knights, and now I think you're pretty likely to.
What do you think about the Vanguard vets with dual pistols against demons? I wonder about that, because they could potentially remove all 5 of the splits from an objective in one go if you had like 3 of them. Take like plasma pistols, so you're wounding on 2s and just don't overcharge, but you drop that down. The Vanguard vets, dual pistols, 3 of those.
Well, I think, and not to say that, it was nice to be able to target 2 different things individually, but you're paying 2 points for a plasma pistol to get a 2-up wound roll instead of a 3-up, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd pay 2 points just for that, right?
Yeah.
You can have a guy with just 2 pistols.
Yeah, it's something rolling over.
That invuln save is the issue. And then I think once they split, don't they go down to toughness 2
No, they stay T3, but it's just their save gets weaker, and they lose out on strength. So that's the thing that I worry about is time, because the horrors that split are also psychers. So you're going to run up, you're going to get psybolted before you get to shoot. So that's going to be like a death denied right there. And then you got to try and take them off and clear that entire objective right there. So it's like, before next turn they come back and psybolt you again. So it's like, oh man, you gotta like clear them out. And so that's why I'm wondering about that extra point, because like a flamer or something, that would be great if it also spilled over onto the splits. But the splits, once that model dies and it becomes 2 new models, anything extra is gone. So any extra flamer shots, the frag cannon shots, anything like that, they don't carry over, they're just lost. So that's why it's like, man, it needs to be multiple weapons. It needs to be able to reliably take them out. And it has to do it like fast, because you're limited. You don't want to get soaked for that.
I never practiced a lot against demons with the Astartes. The Asuryani have a pretty good answer to the demons. They handle that problem by having a lot of small models that shoot effectively against them, right? So you don't have one guy that shoots twice. You have 2 guys that shoot twice, and all of their fire is kind of perfect for taking down demons. Strength 4, right, and nothing else. Yeah, and there's a lot of it.
Yeah, Dire Avenger Exarch's great for them, actually.
And then you got that guy on top of it, and but the Astartes, they don't have a great option aside from some of the 2 models, which I guess you would really think a lot about those. I think, and keep them in front, and then you have your heavy bolter scout and maybe a couple other guys like that. Who are going to stay in the back where the psychic isn't going to hit them. Yeah, and then the demons are not much good at hurting Astartes regularly. So first round you don't get the kill because you only have 1 psychic attack, and then second round you're making an injury roll, and by that time they have that denied. Yeah. Third round, maybe you probably kill something. I don't know. And then but then the fourth round you probably don't. So demons might be looking at only 1 kill against kind of well-positioned intercessors. Yep.
And an intercessor. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh yeah, no problem. I was just I'm thinking,
I get excited and start talking. I'm like, yeah, the Intercessor Sergeant now can take 2 pistols, so that's possibly a thing. Sorry about that.
That's true. That's true. And I'd probably say, maybe you want the Intercessors with the Assault, who they're gonna run up in the front and kind of shield everything else. I think it's probably enough to move up 6 inches, and just you're gonna get killed more often, I think, as the Astartes against those demons, and you just need to kind of keep pace with the secondaries and maybe not count on. I think Astartes would have struggled a little bit more with the break test in any case, because they just don't put out quite enough volume of fire.
Yeah.
But so maybe you just try to win it with your secondaries, and then and I guess for the demons it's all positional secondaries, but the positional secondaries are really hard to stop them from. I mean, they're going to get the borders, no problem. I mean, they'll certainly be able to get center if they want it.
Yeah, they'll have that one
recon sweep really easily too. So they're gonna max their secondaries. I think if they put any effort into it, and they're gonna max their holds, because whether they, I think they're pretty likely to hold more 3 times. At most, you'd keep them away from 1, but they might never get kill more, and they might only get, against that Astartes list, they might only get 1 or 2 kills.
Yeah, they would have to bank like every reroll. They would need that loaded up for every psychic phase, because it's either you're gonna miss. You might miss your psychic test, and you might miss the injury roll. So it's like one of those you're gonna probably be wanting to save CP for an injury,
right,
or whatever.
But yeah, interesting. We'll see if anybody does bring that, but it does pose an interesting. I mean, it's definitely going to need its own list. You have to think about that kind of all by itself.
Yeah.
The one thing is, when we come up with a list like that, that's kind of a gimmick list, I think that you do think about those in preparation. But what is really the hidden gem is almost, I think, if you look at the Admechs or the Orcs or the Gene Stealers, or there are a lot of these factions that can be built quite a few different ways.
Yep.
And unless you have an enormous amount of time to playtest them yourself, you're not going to think of those. And I was watching Emmanuel's comments on the game with me, and I think his assessment of the game was very much the same as mine. I mean, he maybe put it into the words I'm going to use here, but I kind of lost in the deployment phase by bringing the wrong army. Well, not the wrong army against orcs in general, but like the wrong army against his orcs, and then by also picking the wrong side. And that's the harder thing to plan for. And so I think that ultimately we're going to see some of those kinds of the creative things that can be done and that have been really practiced by one person with some of those variable factions. That's where your winners are going to come from. Because that's also true of my Astartes list that I brought. That was second place, right? It was a list that probably nobody had ever practiced against, because you know what I mean. You didn't. I mean, that now maybe somebody has, because my list is out there. But before I put it out there, I doubt anybody thought of exactly the list that I brought against whatever you brought, right? And so you were seeing it for the first time, just as I was seeing Emmanuel's list for the first time when I played it, and that's, I think, that's where you're gonna, the best players are gonna shine, is when they face that situation and are they able to make the adaptation that they need, or did they get enough practice against enough people that they're not caught off guard by anything.
Yeah. At that time, when you showed up with the White Scars, everybody had been practicing, if they did practice, against salamanders. So you got them.
Right, probably.
Yeah. So, all right. I know we've kind of went on about demons and such. We were kind of talking about factions that were basically hurt by the new format. Do you think that with the new format in general, just this addition of kill more, that it suddenly buffed anything? Like, do you think that your wraiths are suddenly viable now, or more viable than they would have been?
Yeah, I do think that. I do think my wraiths are viable.
Me too.
Yeah, and we hadn't. That is an important thing to say. I've been using wraiths in Asuryani lists, and the fact that they're not that point sufficient is not as important as the different option that they give me, and against the Custodes. Even, I mean, I bring them against the Custodes, and the wraith is not as good as the Custodes by any measure, and he costs more, but he is a good, solid threat against the Custodes. The Custodes can't disregard him, and then that affects their whole movement and their whole positioning and everything else. It's funny, I was almost like considering bringing like a 90-point list out of 125 with Asuryani, because I'm like, I just want to hide. I just want to go away and hide. Having too many bodies is stopping me from doing that. And it's funny because you have a much better option than just not bringing option than bringing this very expensive thing that's hard to kill. And even though he's not unkillable, he is quite a burden to remove. And I found he was particularly good. There's basically two Custodes you can bring, right? You can bring a spear one or a sword one. And that sword one has a strength 5 attack and only 3 attacks. And so a toughness 6 Wraith Lord, that's just no good for that dude. Even though he hits really well, now he's got a wound on 5s, so he's lucky to get 1 wound through, and you got a 50% chance of stopping it from doing anything, and then he's only got a 1 in 3 chance of even doing enough damage to kill you. So, like, you can lock up one of their dudes the whole game, and then it's like you're 90-point Asuryani, 10 guys against their 2, and that's a nice setup. I also used the Wraith Guard against some Astartes lists that I was playing with kind of the same effect, and it just, but bringing fewer bodies has sort of an art all its own now, and especially also with the terrain, the way they're doing it, which offers a lot of hiding possibilities, right? A lot of line of sight walking, a lot of maze-like situations, and so being fast and being able to like block a corridor, that's you got your Dire Avenger Exarch on one side, who's not durable by most measures, but he does have 2 wounds and a 4-up invul, and it's astonishing how he can tie things up sometimes if the dice go your way. And then you've got that Wraith who's very reliable, and you got like 2 places you can really stop up, and then the rest of your army can kind of move at will and get kills in the corner unless you're facing Custodes and stuff. So the Wraith for sure is going to be on my list, and not as a pure like distraction. Like he'll be a part of it. Which reminds me, I need to paint him. He's not painted. If I decide to bring Asuryani, it's still up in the air between that and Astartes. I considered Custodes, and I've discarded that. I'm not going to bring Custodes, but I still might bring Green Knights. And if I have the time, I'm going to try messing around with Death Watch a little bit too.
Well, thank you so much, brother, for coming on. I appreciate it, and hope to talk again soon.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to hearing all the other people talking on your show and learning from them.
Thank you, brother.
And now it's time for the Q&A portion of this episode, where I scour the internets, the various places, the Beeranid contact forum things, my YouTube channel, Twitter, wherever, for places that people ask me questions. Keep in mind, if there's something that you asked that I haven't answered yet, ask it again, because every time somebody leaves a comment, every time somebody subscribes, it adds an email to my inbox, so things get buried. But if there's a question that you want answered, I want to get you that answer, so keep trying until I do it. All right, so first question. This is something that actually came up multiple times. It's just variations of the same question. What about Eldar made them so attractive this time around? Why are Eldar doing so well? A big part of a faction and their visibility is simply representation. I think that if there were 20 Tyranid players at an event, Tyranids are going to take, top 8 sometime, and then they're going to be amazing. And that's kind of what was happening with Eldar at LVO. They were just everywhere. Every pod had some. The GT had, 5 players, something like that. So, of course, hey, having 3 in the top 8 isn't crazy. With that said, they are just an awesome team. They have great tactics. They're a toolbox. You can run them a million different ways. If you've listened to this podcast, you heard Oodsicle, Aric Kuschinsky rant about that earlier. So hopefully that kind of covers it. I feel a lot of the same, about Admech about Eldar applies to Admech. So I kind of think, I keep in mind that it could have been Admech if there were 5 really good players running them. You got to think these players that were up there running the Eldar, they're really skilled players too. They have multiple factions available to them in a lot of cases, and this is just what they felt was strongest. Eldar are just good. They're just a solid team. So kind of like what Eric said earlier, if you have these good players looking at the books and, seeing the grenades, oh, this guy can't fall back from me, I can advance and shoot this grenade, all this kind of stuff. Oh, when I get my rerolls to charges and they can't fall back, so when I get in, even if they decisive, I'm -1 to hit, things like that. They just have a lot going for them. But I think the big thing that made them so visible was simply representation. For a while there, it was only Michael Holy that was running them. And then little by little, we saw Sheldon run them at Nova and stuff like that. It's just been more and more people kind of jumping on as they continue to win these tournaments. But Michael Holy also won with his Space Marines at SoCal, or he took 2nd place, I believe. So, he's just a good player. So we'll kind of see, do these players kind of stick with that, or now that it's becoming saturated, are we going to see them get targeted for a counter and they lose a little bit of their luster perhaps? That's always going to be a possibility. As soon as something gets very visible, it can be surprising how fast the targets come down. I saw that with Tyranids. After Miguel won LVO, a lot of people started packing Tyranid counters into their lists. And then we had the nerf to Metabolic Overdrive. And I still think Tyranids are way up there. I think that they could do really well. It's just that, they were visible in the early part of the game. So it was something people got out of the way quick. And it's a potential thing that could happen with Eldar too. Next question. Was the Orc list at LVO freebooters buffing a flash get? It absolutely was, but you got to think with the freebooters, it's not just the flash gets that can get the buff. So he could run up with a demo spec, with a flamer and kill you with that, and then be proccing to give the flash get a buff, and then now the flash get, he kills something, he rolls that die to try and shoot again, and then, there's more buffs there. There's the attack squig to reroll. There was a lot of, or not the attack squig, what was it called? The ammo rent. That's what it was. He was running them as squigs. He had proxied little squig models, so it stuck in my brain weird. But there was a lot there. It's what I classify as an engine. It's combos and stacks in various ways to try to proc it. And this was a really good one because I got to play that list, play against it 3 times over the course of the weekend. And it was a kind of engine where if you take out a key component, it doesn't mean the engine's dead. That is a big flaw a lot of times to combos and stacks, guys, because I'm the kind of player that likes to run those kinds of lists. That's how my Death Watch work and things like that. But a lot of times when you're building the engine, you'll find if the person can identify and take out a key component of that, it equals the complete death of the engine. And this was not the case with his freebooter thing. So, and orcs with shootas and stuff, they're still decent in melee against things like Gaunt Spam and whatnot. So they kind of had however they needed it. If you got in, they could charge, they could do damage there. They had their veteran spec. If you're going to try and charge him, you're getting flamed. That procs another buff on the flash gets thing for the next phase and stuff like that. So it's just, there's a lot going for it there. And the freebooters do not just work on... I believe rules is written, it is not just the shooting phase. I believe some of these stacks can work in the fight phase too. Although he wasn't, Kyle Fierstad, from what I saw as he was playing, he wasn't worried about all of that. He was very much set on that gun line. And he didn't move too far forward and stuff like that. He wanted you to come to him and for you to try and take objectives. And the board was actually kind of open at LVO. So if you only had melee, like when I was running my big bugs and stuff like that, you could park on there and be within range, and they're hitting you on 3s and stuff like that. The big bugs just kind of crumbled against that. So it was a good list. I liked it. But yes, answering your question, the orc list at LVO, that is your current number 1, your first GT winner, was freebooter orcs, buffing a flash get and stuff like that, but not just the flash get. Next question, the 2 big boogeyman lists. Oh, this one. Okay, so this guy says basically the 2 big boogeyman lists that I hyped didn't didn't kill and raffle stomp LVO like I said they would. It's basically, haha, Beeranid, you suck. It kind of goes back to what I said about the Eldar and representation. It's the same thing I said about AdMech. I've been saying AdMech are really good for a long time. They lost by 1 point, okay? People have written me these kinds of things for a long time about various factions. I say Grey Knights are good. Oh, you suck, Beeranid. Haha, they're not good. Well, they just took a top 8. Well, they just won. My friend Eric just won the pod with them. I mean, people have to play them, guys. So yeah, the big boogeymans that I talked about that, oh, by the way, I said how to counter them in the last episode and things like that, what I would do against them, gave a strong plan on how to beat them, talked about in Patreon-only videos, to some of the people who are in top 8 are actually members there, stuff like that. Told them how to beat these, what to watch out for, stuff like that. And then you look at the fact of the representation, that there was only one Pink Horror Spam player that brought them, who actually did pretty well, and there were 2 Custodes players for the entire thing. So it's kind of like, I mean, if all of those Eldar players were running Pink Horror Spam, we would probably have seen them in top 8 too. I still stand by the fact that I think that they're a very strong list, especially in the past format. I think that Pink Horror Spam was just disgusting. I think that 125 buffed them further. I think that giving them LD8 and adding 5 more combinations of 2d6 that does not fail a break test really is a buff to them. And I think that you're crazy if you don't see the issue of simply facing Custodes, moving on to that faction, even if you win. Because you got to think about the fact that they've denied you positional points, they've denied you kill points, so even with that win, you're lower in the bracket now, and by the way, that can be a big difference at a GT or something like that, where you're playing the best players in the world, and they're getting max scores and stuff like that, and you took maybe an 8-point win. That's crazy. So you win the game, but you had 8 points, and everybody else had 22, 23, 24, or more that won. You're going to be the lowest winner in that GT for that round. And then, by the way, they get paired up and they do it again next round. And then they get paired up and they do it again next round. So that's kind of the issue with the Custodes. It's not that they're an amazing auto-win raffle stomp team. It's what it does to you in the bracket that I was trying to make people aware of. So if we were to see people start running them en masse, yeah, it adds RNG to how well you do in the tournament. It's just random number generators. It's not necessarily, I'm an amazing player, I'm going to go there and do well regardless. It now starts to matter about who you got paired up with. And I think that that's a thing in any tournament, really, even without them. Because let's say you have an amazing counter for Dark Eldar, and you go to that tournament and 3 of your matches are Dark Eldar, you're going to do really well at that tournament. Or you could bring an amazing list, but the weak spot, so you're a great player, you have a great list, but man, you're really bad if you go against Grey Knights. And you get paired up with 2 Grey Knight players that tournament. There's a lot that can affect tourney performance, guys. There's a lot. Play 14 games over 3 days and tell me how you feel. Tell me on that 14th game how good you were. Because I know I was dead after game 1. The only time I've ever beaten Alex Squires, the second place AdMech player, was game 1 of LVO. And I was dead after that. Yay, I won the battle, I lost the war. So, I had crushing games that first day, and then I had 2 more days of Kill Team to go play after. And if you don't think that affects how well a team is going to be, you're crazy. There are things that will not show up on a spreadsheet that affect how good a team looks on paper. And I guess that's how I'm going to end it. All right, so next question. Starting a club, is there a good place to see common lists? Ooh, do I sense a future cheese lord? Are you trying to get a jump on your local meta, sir? And get in there, with, you're going to be a seal clubber? Yes, there are places you can find good lists. You can hear them talked about here on this podcast, but the number one thing, and sadly it kind of fails, is the Best Coast Pairings app. You pay, I think it's $5 a month, and you go on there and you have access to many, many tournaments. You can go back and you can view, Las Vegas Open last year, you can go see what I ran for Tyranids to take 5th place. You can go on, the Best Coast pairings for the SoCal Open for day one, the arena battle, you can go see the exact list, the roster that I ran for Gene Stealer cults that took co-third. You can go see any of that you would like to, because there's no limit on the data other than the paywall from what I've seen so far. So that would be the number one resource I would suggest to you. However, there is a caveat there, which is that Best Coast Pairings fails horribly a lot of times. It failed miserably at the Las Vegas Open. Every single pod, every single day, basically, there was some kind of an issue with Best Coast Pairings. So you're going to go on there and you might see, oh, this thing only took 5th place. In actuality, that was a 3rd place thing. It's just that they weren't able to enter the data or something like that. So Best Coast Pairings is buggy, but if you're trying to be the seal clubber of your local meta and get in early, and you're starting a club, but you want, for some reason, you want these cutting edge meta lists, you can go find them there. Good sir. Okay, so next question. Somebody says they're curious about my LVO NID roster. Don't look at anything that I did at LVO with NIDs. My NIDs at LVO was pure experimentation. I was like 110% set on Death Watch until right before. I couldn't get them painted in time, and I had been painting up Raveners and thinking about them and stuff like that, and I had built the big bug list, and a couple of my friends said that they thought that would be really strong, so I just took that and ran with it. But then the next day, I wasn't happy with how that did in the pods, so to the GT, I had switched it up a little bit, so there's 2 rosters there, and then the third day, Glass Half Dead, Mr. Andy talked me into running pure pure Gaunt spam, which was basically 18 Gaunts and 2 Warriors. So there were 3 different rosters testing things out, basically. It was figuring out plays while you're at the Super Bowl instead of going there prepared. I was painting every night in the hotel. I wanted to take models that I wasn't able to take because I didn't have them in the box. There were things that I was able to take just because that's what I had to paint it up, so I was forced to kind of make a workaround and add those in the list. So there's nothing that I've done at LVO that is worth repeating, I think. The closest would be the Big Bug list, which is 7 models, 23 wounds, which was originally created as a counter to the Pink Horror spam Chaos Demons. So that was 5 Raveners, 2 Lictors, 7 models, 23 wounds. I took that as the Behemoth subfaction for the re-rolling charges, because the worst thing that you can do as bugs is fail a charge and then get shot. However, that was inefficient. This is why I say don't run this ever. It's really hard to have 15 points standing on an objective. You have these Raveners with all that crazy movement, and then you just go and stick them on an objective. It was inefficient. And running that day one, having actually put this on the table and trying it out, that was kind of what I noticed. So yeah, it was a lot of learning in progress at LVO. Don't look at my rosters and try to copy it. A better thing would be probably to look at the gameplay if you can find it. I don't know where you'd be able to find it, but of Miguel versus, it was Miguel versus Michael T. Holy the last year at LVO. So LVO 2019. And you would see the Gaunt spam run to perfection, basically, where he lost a warrior turn 1 in the final round and still won that game. So better NID players than me to go and copy. NIDs are a labor of love for me. I am not naturally a good melee player, unfortunately. Next question. Why no Tau at the Las Vegas Open? There were plenty of Tau players there that had Tau in their case, but they wanted to run other things. My buddy Eric that you always hear on these podcasts, he's a great Tau player, but he keeps building new teams. He finds it boring. He didn't want to get into Kill Team because of running drones, basically. And this is something I hear over and over and over again, that it becomes drone team. It's not about running, like Eric, he says, Tau looks like an army. The Fire Warriors look like an army that Apple would have developed or something. It's the I team, basically. And there's that aesthetic and things that really draws people in. They're strong with the rail rifles and stuff like that. But then when you get out of the local meta and you start grinding in tournaments with the same kind of list over and over and over again, I'll tell you, it's tiring to run 17 plus models. It really is. It takes a lot out of you. And so it's just not a lot of fun to run. And it's interesting because I'm going to end up running that for the next little bit, I think, because I'm supposed to play in the 4-person team event this year at Nova. and we needed a Tau player. I have the stuff to run shield drone spam and stuff like that. I have stuff to run rails. I could run 3-Flamer Crisis. I could do all gun drones. I have a lot of Tau stuff that I've collected, and I've only played them once at one tournament. Yeah, that was the only time I've ever put them on the table. Took 4th place, I believe, which wasn't terrible. But I've never practiced with them outside of that. Nothing. I just brought them to that one tournament, a little local RTT, with some of the guys from the Knights cast and stuff like that. Alex Squires was there running it and all that, and it did okay. But that's kind of why you're not going to see Tau a lot right now, is that people are kind of getting burned out on them. Next thing is that I don't think a lot of people know how to get kills with Tau. I think that if you get initiative, they kind of put you in a position to where you got to move and break up your castle to go get them. If you lose initiative and you're going second, a lot of times they'll try to just hide from you and deny you. So there's problems there. They always end up trying to break up the castle. The Tau player wants to have the castle. I don't think that's the most efficient. I think you want to play drones as termagants or hormagaunts, basically. You want to be charging them in. You want to be doing charge cycling, just like you would see in my melee tactics video on YouTube. You want to have things near objectives, and you want to charge cycle in and out with those shield drones and stuff, and you're just slap fighting them to kill big guns without the RNG of having to get to the injury roll. Because you got to think, if you can fall back and pin a guy who's already in combat, that's more efficient. You're getting at least that 8-inch move with fly on that fallback than trying to make a 9-inch charge with another guy, something like that. So you can actually pin somebody in combat without actually doing that counter charge. You just fall back to where the person who's in combat wanting to fall back cannot move away without being within 1 inch of that model or another one of your models and stuff like that. And it's very dependable. It's not like, oh, I have to make a long bomb charge or something like that. So you can tie up the other army's guns, and then when you move your rails into position, you can fall back, and then now they're stuck out in the open. You can snipe them like that. You can kind of pick and choose what targets you want. You can eliminate big guns without actually having to kill them. You're getting in with the charges. I think Tau can be very dynamic. I think that they are one of the best positional teams. And we have moved away from a positional meta. It's still going to be positional. I still think positional can win, but it's not pure positional now. And I think that has a lot of people wondering what to do. And at the same time, feeling invigorated to experiment, to try new teams, things like that. So just like I said is happening with Aric. He wanted to try his Death Guard. He wanted to try Death Watch now. He's getting really into the elite teams, the guys that, maybe have a name or something like that. There's just a few on the table, and this format really opens it up. I think people got burned out on spam and pure positional, and I'm just going to cheese this and take, my guys are faster than yours, and I can take more bodies, but I'm more durable, I can stand around better than you. I think kind of burned people out after around 2 years of that. So that's, a potential thing that's going on with Tau. I don't know for sure. All I do know is we had some great Tau players there that didn't run Tau. There was going to be Aric was supposed to be there, the winner from the Nova Open for last year, the 2019, and he was unable to make it last minute. So I think we almost had an amazing Tau player there running his Tau that just wasn't able to make it. So there's a lot of reasons. And hopefully one of those resonates with you and gives you to where you kind of feel like that's a good enough reason. Next question, how do I make a Death Watch veteran more survivable? This is interesting because I was just talking about this with my buddy Aric. And so I've noticed that people tend to run Death Watch. Their little veterans are either shooty or melee. But the veteran, you're able to put a gun and a sword a lot of times. And I feel like when you're only going one way with them and you have so few models, a lot of times you're going to have wasted phases. Like, okay, if you have a frag cannon, sure, he's really good. But if I can get a blind charge in, he's locked up. That's it. And he's going to slap fight me. Is he going to kill me? Who knows? But if I have another Hormagaunt to charge in next turn and just fall back with my other guy, that's it. I've now killed him technically for 2 turns without actually having to kill him. But you're asking about more durability, and so that tells me that it seems like you might actually be getting killed as Death Watch, which, you got to think, okay, what's going to kill Deathwatch? Things like plasma spam. Your counter there is storm shields are really good. You want a veteran who's going to move in and start tying those up, who's going to be able to eat a couple plasma shots on Overwatch, perhaps, getting in. So there's that. Storm shields are a thing. Another big thing that a lot of people don't think about is positioning so that you're always only going out of action on the 5-up. That means if you're obscured within 1 inch of terrain. That means if you're out in the open, you're out in the open with a buddy. Because yes, even though they can split shots, you can cross their arms and stuff in such a way so that where they're positioned from the firing, the view of the firing model, each model is providing the other model obscurity. And if you get a kill on one of them, they're only going out of action on a 5, not a 4, 5, 6. That's a 16% reduction in your out of action rate, leaving it to only a 33% odds. If that was a casino bet, that's something you would take. You would take the 66% over 33%. So there's basic little things you can do to be more survivable as Deathwatch. Next thing that's going to kill Deathwatch is going to be Mortal Wounds, which, what is the answer to that? Multiple 2-wound models. So you move up, okay, you're playing Thousand Suns, you know he's going to eat a Cybolt. Well, you'll put one in front one turn, one in front the next turn. Hopefully by the end of that turn, you've got him with your Infernus Engine or something, and you've taken out that Psyker. So Deathwatch are challenging. They can be surprisingly durable. I like Storm Shields and stuff like that. They're my jam. I love my Deathwatch. I maintain that they are going to be a very good team in hold and kill. But again, somebody's got to run them. Next question actually came up earlier in this podcast. A Grey Knight with that hammer. Okay, he comes in and he's a Zealot Specialist. Is he Strength 10 or Strength 9? So he's Strength 4 base. Let's back this up. Strength 4 base. He gets the ×2 because of the hammer, and then he gets a +1 for being a Zealot. The question is basically, is that Strength 4 +1 ×2 or Strength 4 ×2 +1? And you're always going to do the addition and subtraction last. It says that in the core rulebook. That's the rule when it talks about adding modifiers. So the correct strength on that weapon would be Strength 9 because it's Strength 4 ×2 +1. Strength 9. And finally, this is a great question. Somebody I'm giving you a digital high five and hug right now. He says, "You're my favorite Kill Team channel. Will I ever record bat reps?" That ad that you hear in each video so far, that's the Strategic Advantage channel. And that is run by Emmanuel Mitsunikos, winner of the SoCal Open, Day 2, and Alex Squires, who just took second place at the Las Vegas Open with his AdMech. They're two of the best players around, and they have a channel that's doing bat reps. And so hopefully, I'll be part of that off and on and come over there. And, they're my buddies. We play together fairly regularly. So we're part of the same team, everything. And all they have to do is put a camera on what we're already doing. And boom, there's the bat reps. But it would be on their channel. The thing that I'm trying to do right now is vlogging the tournament scene that I go to. Every time I go to the tournament, I try to set up cameras. And I try to get some footage of my games. The issue is, I'm only just now getting to the point with the Patreon and stuff like that to where I can start planning for the future purchase because I want to get something nice and bring it to you, even if it's just a single camera at first or something like that, which I talk over. But right now, everything's failing me. Like I took the cameras to when I went to the LVO and I set up game 1 versus Alex Squires. And that was an amazing game, versus the second place winning who would go on to become the second place winning AdMech versus my Beeranids. That would have been such a great game to make a bat rep out of. But at the end of the game, we shook hands and I went to look at the camera and it said it was a black screen with text and I couldn't get it to turn off. So I'm just having a lot of technical difficulties with all that now. But thankfully the Patreon is getting to where I think that's going to become something that can happen in the future. I'm not looking to become a bat rep channel, but I really, really, really would like to document this journey and kind of share with you guys the beauty and just the fun of the competitive scene. It gets this weird bad rep with the casual players who have never gone and played. I keep hearing about this 99% versus 1% thing, and it's like, man, I think so many casual players would love tournaments, especially Kill Team. I don't know about the other games. I don't play Magic the Gathering. You know, I've dabbled with X-Wing, and that was wide open and fun and inviting and engaging. With Kill Team, that's all that there is, pretty much. There is no win-at-all-cost players. We run cheese and we laugh about it, and we make fun of each other for what a broken, stupid list this is and how ridiculous it is and stuff like that. It's fun. We rib on each other and stuff. It's not a bad thing. The bad thing is online or sometimes casual players. The only time I've ever had a win-at-all-cost moment happen to me in Kill Team was across the table from somebody at a GW shop, just playing for nothing, just sitting there rolling dice on a Sunday, my day off, just trying to find a pickup game. That was the only time I've ever had somebody pull anything weird. So that's kind of what I want to show, is how amazing this community is, how, you know, I want to take you, if you're across the world and you can't make it to the Las Vegas Open, I want to share that with you. I want you to come with me and see the events and stuff like that. That's what I want to share. And part of that is going to be my games there. So I'm not going to be doing my own full bat reps. I might be part of the Strategic Advantage channel sometimes off and on, you know, just, hey, they put a camera on our games, we play all the time anyway. That would be great. But my real intention, my real hope is to vlog my journey. You know, I go to these tournaments, there's a camera there. So hopefully that's content that people would like, because it's something that I have in me that I've wanted to do for a while now. And it's kind of a passion thing that I'd like to do. And that's it for the Q&A in this installment of the Killzone Podcast. Remember, if you have a question you'd like answered in a future episode, be sure to send me a message on YouTube, Twitter, or anywhere else you see me, and you might be on the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this third edition of the podcast. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our monthly Patreon-only episode, once again featuring Mr. Michael T. Holy, where we cover becoming a better player. I think that this is now, we've covered so many things, you know, the gatekeepers, how to make them, how to beat them, understanding the packet, stuff like that. Now it's getting to fundamentals, and I wanted to take the best player in the world and see what is his practice like. You know, what is his practice tips? What is the mindset of a top player, and much more. So we're going to get all that from the number one ranked Kill Team player in the world. Next time on the Killzone Podcast.
You've just listened to the Killzone Podcast. Killzone Podcast with Beeranid 40k.
Kick ass.
We hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Tune in to Apple, Spotify, and YouTube for more Killzone coming soon. There's a new episode for you every other Monday. Be sure to join the Beeranid 40k Patreon for full access to all episodes.